academic and professional trajectories available to graduates of the BS English program specializing in applied linguistics. I welcome you, ma'am. Next, we have Dr. Abdul Wahid Osmani, who possesses a PhD with a research focus on standardized assessment of reading proficiency. He currently holds the position of director at the Quality Enhancement Cell of Jinnah Singh Medical University. His session will elucidate the intersection between English studies and quality assurance frameworks, highlighting the potential contributions of English graduates to this domain. I welcome you, Dr. Saab. Next, we have Dr. Tafsir Ahmed, a distinguished scholar with a doctoral degree from University of Konstanz, Germany, has conducted extensive research on the post-positional structures of South Asian languages. Currently serving as Senior Natural Language Processing Scientist at Alexa Translations, he will expound upon the role of English in the evolving discipline of natural language processing and its implications for computational linguistics. So, most welcome. Next, we have Mr. Hassan Bilal Zaidi. He earned his master's degree in English language and literature from Government College University, Lahore. Presently, he holds the position of news editor at Dawn newspaper in Karachi. His responses will provide an analytical perspective on the integration of English graduates within the media sector, with a particular emphasis on print journalism landscape. Welcome, Zabi Saab. We have online Ms. Anna Machura from Ireland. She is a distinguished neuro-language and neuroscience coach with a diverse range of specializations. As a registered therapist, a practitioner of neurodiversity, informed methodologies, and an expert in cognitive behavioral therapy, neuro-linguistic programming, and mindfulness, she will delineate the professional avenues available to English graduates in the interdisciplinary fields of neuro-language and neuroscience. We have also Mr. Azhar Rafi, who will be joining us from UK, London. He is the director of ILO and Pakistan Director for Lewis School, UK. Additionally, he is a seasoned educational manager and a teacher trainer. His discourse will examine the pathways through which graduates of English programs can establish careers in educational management and teacher training, underscoring the requisite skills and competencies for success in these roles. I encourage our audience to note down your questions as we will have a Q&A session towards the end. With that, let us formally begin our panel discussion. I would like to begin with Professor Dr. Sazizaki. Dr. Sharma, what career pathways can BS English graduates explore in applied linguistics? Could you please explain to our audience?
Thank you, Sir. I'm really grateful that I've been given the privilege and honor to come and participate in this conference that touches upon social sciences and humanities and languages, which have been neglected in Pakistan. We have quite an indifferent attitude to languages in particular. So I would like to acknowledge and appreciate that if there is any discussion that's tackling language, it could be English language or other languages, that I'm always appreciative of that fact. English language is a reality. It has come a long way. Many people are still looking at English language from 1835. And Pakistan, unfortunately, is frozen in this native lens of English language. We are still coaching classic British literature in order to train a huge generation in 21st century to use contemporary language through classic literature. I mean, we need to revisit this combination. How would we feel if we are teaching 17th or 18th century Urdu literature in order to develop contemporary Urdu language usage in professional and other domains? So that is something that we need to all acknowledge and understand. The entire world, I mean, when you are in UK, US, and rest of the world, you see that they have moved on beyond Shakespeare to more contemporary literature, to more contemporary themes, to more contemporary relevance of English language in the domains that we are connected with. However, unfortunately, for quite some time, we focused on BS English programs primarily an appreciation of literature. There's no harm. We all can at any point in time. I mean, you don't need to really enroll in a bachelor's program to study and enjoy literature. You can do it, anybody can enjoy literature. The idea is that for a country like Pakistan, where we are looking at higher education as the vehicle or engine for socio-economic transformation, we are looking at a huge, wider population that needs to be incorporated within the mainstream functions, mainstream disciplines, mainstream workforce that needs to be carrying out and contributing to different sectors. So this is where BS English graduates, they possess multidisciplinary skills. They are trained into variety of soft sciences, and these soft sciences are capable of giving them an idea that they can use these skills, use these frames in order to contribute to sectors. For instance, there's a lot of information that needs to be resynthesized and repackaged for people to understand in a more simplified way. So we are dealing with content writing, we are dealing with communication, we are dealing with documentation, we are dealing with people. I mean, we today agree that the gaps in educational institution, high school, colleges, universities, and our graduates, whether they are coming out of any college or university or school, they are not market ready. So for this large learner readiness programs, online educational technologies, they offer such a platform. People who are finding a gap somewhere in their learning, in their skills, they can always approach to an individual or to a platform that can provide them that kind of facilitation, empowering and equipping them to become mainstream. They can then, by overcoming that barrier, they can become useful members to their communities, to their professional groups, to whatever sector they are interested in. So this is where BS graduate really helps. We are looking at English, which is 21st century reality, without any competition with other languages. I would like to conclude with only giving one reality, that when we talk about linguistics, a very important concern today is international intelligibility versus historical identity. We all are dealing with our own languages, which is our historical identity. But then, on the other side, we see that this historical or our contemporary languages within our own context, they will not make us communicate to the entire world. For that, we need to dwell somewhere how to attain a balance between these two extremes for any language. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sazaki. I completely agree with you that we need to have a different lens when it comes to exploring the field of English. Now, I move to Professor Dr. Abdul Wahid Usmani. Sir, you started your academic journey as a linguist or applied linguist, and then we can see that now, mashallah, you are a renowned consultant in terms of higher education accreditation. So how can BS English graduates contribute to the fields of like quality assurance or accreditation and curriculum development in higher education? And what do you think, what skills from their degree would be most valuable in these areas?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Qaisar Saab, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me, and I really appreciate that ZABIST identified this area and invited professionals from different fields. Some of you may be surprised that somebody who holds masters in English, PhD in testing skills, is appointed in a medical university as a director quality assurance, teaching doctors, professors, clinicians how to assure quality in higher education. This is a long journey, and I'll be happy to share this journey with you all. Way back in 2006, when quality assurance was a new concept in Pakistan, Higher Education Commission formulated a concept document inviting professionals to establish a department called Quality Enhancement Cell. It was a time when people used to call it Quality Insurance Department, many of them. And there was a chaos as there were no professionals. the qualification criteria that was outlined in HEC document was vague. It was then I started working, I had a workshop at Dow University of Health Sciences, where I was conducting a session on writing MCQs. And thanks to my university, where I learned how to formulate MCQs, after the workshop I was asked to meet the Vice Chancellor, and then I joined Dow University of Health Sciences as a Director Quality Assurance. Now the question is, what attributes or opportunities are there for BS English students? I'm glad that I'm sharing this with you all. Last month I shared the details with one of the alumni of Karachi University inviting BS English students to join Quality Assurance. Now what is the reason? The reason is very simple. In Quality Assurance we need few significant things in a candidate. The first thing is analytical skills. If you have completed your course on applied linguistics, any of the course, you must have been taught discourse analysis. You must have been taught how to analyze a discourse. Similarly, if you have been trained how to conduct classes, you know the learner's psychology, you know the learner's behavior, adult learning and children's learning. You know all these basic elements. Many of the graduates from different disciplines, say for instance, BS in chemistry, BS in biology, BS in say applied sciences, or even BE from NED University, or the top-notch graduate from Dow University of Health Sciences do not possess these skills. We want people to come forward from English background, BS English, if they have completed some courses on or related to applied linguistics. The initial hierarchy starts from assistant director. Imagine that you're starting your career as assistant director. How do you learn about quality enhancement cell? Just Google QEC Pakistan and you will find 275 universities having this department. And if I am not exaggerating, out of 275 you will find 240 or 50 universities without a specific professional working in quality assurance. In many of the cases, it is somebody from the university who is given the charge of quality assurance and he starts running the business. When you start learning about it, you realize that it is the degree, it is your degree, BS in English, that gave you insight of what curriculum is all about. You know how learners are treated in classes and how they should be managed. When you talk to the teachers, you talk about quality parameters. Quality parameters simply means how a curriculum is organized and how it is delivered. If you have been taught these things, you are a good fit for QEC. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Saab. I really appreciate, because this is something which is quite different and quite new for, I expect it from our audience, that someone coming from an applied linguistics background can pursue a career in QEC. And rather, thank you so much for pointing it out that that is the most appropriate person for that specific department. Now I'll move to Dr. Tafsir Ahmed. Sir, starting the journey from computational linguistics, this is probably something, I expect something new for some of the people, that linguistics also has a word like computational linguistics. So what is this? But moving on with that, so from computational linguistics to becoming a scientist in natural language processing, so how can BS English graduates apply their knowledge of linguistics or literature to the field of natural language processing, particularly in working with Pakistani languages?
Is it working? Yeah, okay. So thank you for inviting me. So for use of, and I will discuss it in context of AI, which is popular in these days. So the usage of natural language processing or artificial intelligence in linguistics and applied, in the fields of linguistics and applied linguistics, we should have a moderate approach and a moderate viewpoint between the two extremes. One extreme is rejection that computers or machines cannot replicate human intelligence. So they are coming close to replicate the human intelligence. So one issue is to do not reject it, that it is not possible, that it is hype. It is possible, and in a way where you can see it in the form of ChatGPT or DeepSeek, etc. So do not reject it. In past, even if you go 3 years ago, there was a different situation. Computers were not so powerful, natural language processing applications were not so powerful that they can deal human languages, but now everything is changed and everything is changing on the weekly basis. We are doing this work. It is my job to do natural language processing, and in these days we say it is not possible today, but I do not know whether to our bosses or to our management teams, but I do not know, maybe it is possible tomorrow. We have found a new model that make it possible. So it is a changing field, so getting the knowledge of this thing. The second issue is that do what is according to your field. If you are convinced with my view that BS students should not reject artificial intelligence and NLP and start using it, and start searching it, what are the major applications of artificial intelligence so they will find building a chatbot or building websites using ChatGPT, but it can be a path, career path. But you are a you are a English student, or you are a linguistic student, or if you are a literature student, try to use artificial intelligence and NLP in your field. You can use it in quality assurance, you can use it in language teaching, you can use it in literary analysis. So try to use it in your field. It is the most important thing, and there are applications. You can learn how to write prompt and then start using it in what we call zero shot prompting. It means without providing a zero knowledge, without providing no knowledge to the computer, you can ask it to do something. And then I will come to the second extreme. The other extreme is this, wow, we got a wonderful invention, and it tells 100% correct information to us, so we will use it blindly. So our systems have problems. That's why we are hired by the organization to fix those problems and those shortcomings. So one method of research or a career path is to find problems in the shortcomings in these models and then try to fix it. So finding shortcomings in a scientific way. You run, for example, 1,000 prompts and one prompt is wrong, okay. You run 1,000 prompts and 100 times the result is found different, it is another way. So find the frequency of the problems, the severity of the problems, and then try to fix it. Fixing, how can you fix it? You can provide new data to the computers through which it can learn, because all of these modern systems are based on the data. They learned whole Wikipedia, whole websites of the world, web crawl, and they learned from it. So they are in a way biased towards the majority. So there are many kinds of bias present in the system. Gender bias is the most discussed one. There are other biases. There would be dialectal bias. For example, in Pakistan, if we say I am searching for a hotel or hotel in our local accent, so it can mean either I am searching for a restaurant or I am searching for a place to stay. In standard English, it is only the residence place. So dialectal information is to be provided, and here the subject expert can help us. They can find the shortcomings and they can provide the relevant data by using which it can be fixed. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Saab, for giving us such a detailed response on this, and I'm sure that the future is definitely going to need an English graduate in terms of the use of AI, because the development of AI tools, obviously, it also has a very significant impact of English on it. So an English graduate can definitely be a very significant part, can play a very significant part in the development of these things. Let's welcome Ms. Anna Machura from Ireland. So, Ms. Anna Machura, thank you so much for joining us, and we welcome you to this conference and this panel discussion. So, you're an expert of neuro-language and neurodiversity, and so how would you say, how can a graduate of BS English transition into the field of neuro-language coaching and neurodiversity, and what foundational skills from linguistics or literature are most relevant in the domain that you're working in?
First of all, thank you so much for the invitation and warm greetings from Ireland to everyone. It's a very important question. I will try to refer to the other panelists as well. So first of all, we mentioned earlier critical and analytical thinking skills. Also Shakespeare, which I would say to be or not to be future ready. And I will try to combine also finding gaps in knowledge, and that has to do a lot with neurolinguistics. Let me explain now. When we talk about the ability to do something and then honing our skills, number one is the first degree that you're going to get, it's just beginning. And it starts from there. So my approach would be, how can you diverge from that, is try to pick a discipline, a domain that will allow you later on to be the best you can. So start with the workings of your mind. I'm a therapist as well, and as a neurolinguist, I always focus on how you feel while doing something. Now, the environment's going to be quite organic, but at the same time, you need to know the language thoroughly. So thinking of that, number one, the foundational skills, yes, you will get the degree, but please remember about continuous professional development as well. When it comes to neurolinguistics, and later on, you may say, is it just that? No, psycholinguistics. And then from there, you need to check if you feel good while working with people, because this is a slightly different thing. Now, you might have different sessions. For example, NLP, neurolinguistic programming, or as a therapist, I use a lot of different strategies, but that requires the foundation anyway. So, linguistics over literature, my answer is always linguistics, and then you can diverge from there. Find different environments. Okay, social science is about individuals, societies. I know that there are different situations, and we need to be future ready. So try to be ready with your set scale for the future all the time. It may look differently when it comes to Ireland or the UK. Slightly different when you pick a different country. That's natural. So number one is the discipline, but at the same time, you as a person, and focusing on emotional intelligence as well, metacognition. And I would love to get a question from you, because I can talk about the academic context as well, but do not stop or limit yourself just to that one field, or even thinking about different jobs. Think where you cannot be replaced. Now with the AI, it's now here and it's going to stay, but still finding the gaps, all right, and honing your skills as you go. I'd love to, well, I do interactive sessions, I would love to get some questions. What do you think about it? And some feedback.
Definitely, we have planned a Q&A session, and I'm quite positive that you'll be getting quite interesting questions for yourself to answer. Thank you so much. Let's come back to Pakistan and at ZABIST specifically from Ireland. We have Mr. Hassan Bilal Zaidi. As I've already introduced that he is the editor of Dawn newspaper. So thank you so much for coming today. And I know you must be under great pressure after peak ordinance, but don't worry, we are not going to go there. we will remain academic. And so being an editor, you've been working for the last 20 years and you've been affiliated with so many international and national organizations. So what role does a background in linguistics and literature play in your career, since you're also a master's in language and literature? So as a news editor, and how can BS English graduates leverage their skills to enter the field of journalism and editorial work?
Thank you very much. I realize that I'm the only non-PhD person on the stage right now, so I will try my best not to bring down the level of discourse too much. It's very interesting. If you ask me today, I would accept a journalism graduate or an English graduate in the as a staffer in my paper, I would much rather opt for the English graduate. Wow. There's a reason for that. But having said that, any other degree than media studies or journalism, I would much rather induct. Because if you've studied a subject, be it English language, literature, physics, geography, history, international relations, you have a grasp of the world around you. You have a wherewithal, you have analytical skills, you have research capabilities, and all of these fields impart those to you. That is the core tenet of what we're trying to do. As other speakers have pointed out before me, the nature of journalism is such that anyone should be able to do it because it is meant for everyone. It should be able, if it is interpretable, if it is understandable for the average reader, only then is it successful journalism, then only then is it a successful piece of reporting. If you cut off access to your accounts by using far too verbose language or by using, as somebody rightly pointed out, language which is out of context or out of place in a certain scenario. अगर मैं यहाँ पर बैठ के forsooth and verily करना शुरू कर दूँ, तो शायद that might not be relatable. But having said that, the language that we use to talk about events develops with time. Shakespeare and Christopher Marlowe जो ज़बान बोलते थे या लिखते थे, the language they wrote is not as relevant as what Drake and Kendrick Lamar are now using. They are the Shakespeare and Marlowe of our times now. SpongeBob SquarePants is, the pop culture icon. Peanuts is philosophy now. Sophie's Choice has been replaced by Peanuts. You have different vehicles for sharing experiences which have been with us through the centuries. You don't need to read Kant essentially in the original text anymore to grasp what he is trying to say. You don't have to read Hobbes perhaps anymore in the original language. You can get that sense from more accessible texts. So that's where my job comes in, or where my profession comes in, to make information accessible for people. And in order to do that, one needs to have excellent reading comprehension, which is a basic ability that any human being should have, and any language speaking person, and I hope I'm not precluding any special persons by saying that, but anybody who can express themselves is essentially doing that. They're trying to convey thoughts as accurately as possible. A pet peeve of mine has been that a lot of people, almost everybody, says that journalism needs to be objective. I argue that true objectivity is perhaps impossible for human beings, because we are all subjective animals. हम अपनी दो आँखों से देखते हैं. We look at the world through our two eyes. So for somebody sitting in the audience, Dr. Saab is sitting to my left. But for me, Dr. Saab is sitting to my right. It's a difference in the way that I view it based on where you're sitting. So there is no objective truth here, right? It's all relative, as Einstein would have said. In that relative world that we live in, if I am able to use words to communicate an idea easily, if I am able to communicate my idea in 3 words, it is a far more effective than if I use 10 words. So those are the kinds of skills that one needs for any profession, but I would say for journalism especially. And I'd conclude right now by saying that rather than trying to limit or close off the profession, I would say that we throw it open to everyone. Anybody can be a journalist. In fact, a lot of my colleagues, a lot of friends I've had through the years growing up in university started out with journalism jobs. You know, a lot of people who are now CFOs and CEOs, you know, were working alongside me at the Daily Times back in the year 2000, or, you know, successful lawyers now are, you know, I remember that they would be working at places like The Nation, because these were the academies where young people with good English at a young age could go and hone their craft. Those opportunities now, especially in terms of the learning experience of that institution, have diminished because of the advent of digital media and social media. It's more individual driven now, you know, so, and it's more person specific. It doesn't have to do with an organization. You don't have to be associated with a Dawn or an Araivat in order to be taken seriously. You have your own pulpit on Instagram or YouTube or Twitter, and you use it. So perhaps the most important thing is understanding how you can channel your grip on language, your analytical skills, and your view of the world, because that is also very important. The way you view the world dictates how you would talk about something. You know, so Shakespeare के बारे में ये कहा जाता है कि वो चोर था. Shakespeare was a thief. He stole a lot of his ideas from Marlowe, from other historians, from Cicero even, you know, and he concocted those stories. I mean, Julius Caesar, it's not an original story, please. Okay? So, but his trick was that he used the language of the time to express ideas which were in vogue at the time and which appealed to people at the time as well. You know, so now the torch has passed on to the Drake and Lamar generation, you know, and perhaps we need to not dumb down, but come to the level that is of discourse that is prevalent among the youth and among the masses today, and try to speak their language to prevent ourselves from getting outdated. That's
Absolutely, thank you so much. And I completely agree with you that everyone has a different perspective, and sometimes we agree and sometimes we agree to disagree. So both of the perspectives exist, and we have to live with these. And thank you so much for this insightful thought. Let's go to UK now, and not physically but virtually. And let's welcome Mr. Azhar Rafi from London. Mr. Azhar, can you hear me? He is not there? Okay. So he'll be joining us again, I hope very, very soon. So let me come back to Pakistan. The visa got rejected. So now let me ask a very, Dr. Sajid has been my teacher, and right now I'm shaking because, you know, talking in front of a teacher is one of the most difficult part of the world. So ma'am, I have been trying to promote English, BS English program, but the main problem and the main question that I have come across almost from everybody, and this is not only, you know, not at one place, but at many places. And the typical sentence that I have come across is कि भाई BS English करके क्या करेगा? Teacher बन जाएगा. And this was something that is, since Anna is there, so I must translate it, that at most, what can a graduate of English do? He can at the most start teaching. So that is what the comment that we have, we face generally. So is this, because I've also been associated with US projects, and you're also one of the person who have led many US aid projects, and why is it that even the international forum only promotes teaching? Over there we can see that they hire English language teachers, they teach English language. Why is it not that they educate students in other fields as well, so that, you know, this domain can also be viewed that English is not only about language teaching? So ma'am, what do you think is the reason of that?
This is primarily because we have a long history of certain cultural ideologies that surround us. Before people are born in Pakistan, their parents make a decision. If it's a boy, he'll be an engineer. If it's a girl, a doctor. So under this scenario, where is language? Where are other professions we haven't thought of? That's one. And the reason why people think of computer science or management science or medicine or engineering, because they can see very concrete career paths laid out for these graduates the minute they'll step out of universities. When you talk about languages, linguistics, English, we are dealing with a soft science. When the science is soft, our career paths are also some things that we need to, I have carved my own career path. I have established the department where I needed to become professor in life. It was not already there for me. After 29 years, people do question, what are you doing in NAD? So there is a department. So these realities are very much there. However, times are changing very rapidly. Because of English language now, in most of the competencies, as already a couple of my colleagues here, they have asserted on the fact that English language is identified to be the medium of communication, and it's in all global surveys is identified as one of the top 5 competencies needed by professionals. When they are recruited, when they are hired, somewhere a very decisive factor remains their English language competence. So because of that, more and more people are now thinking about how to develop their abilities, and from English then they can pursue any kind of other postgraduate programs. Talking about my department, I'll give you a couple of examples. There are courses in our program that people are studying and they consider publishing as their future. Out of the 5 batches that we have produced, 4 students are published authors. So in a short span of 5 years, we have produced 4 published authors. And there are in Pakistan many universities with 30 years of programs in English or in literature. They have not produced as many published literature as we have created. Similarly, training and development is one. Skills education is another one. So we have moved beyond teaching. We have looked at how, let me just point out a couple of research studies that are happening. We are dealing with machine translation for medical field. We are dealing with Pakistani English because we need to detach ourselves. Within the region, Asian Englishes, India is taking lead, Nepal is taking lead, Bangladesh is taking lead, Sri Lanka is taking lead. The most important authority on world Englishes remains Jennifer Jenkins. Open her book and get me one single line about Pakistan. We have India there, Philippines there, Malaysia there, Indonesia there, every country. But we are missing. So this is the reality. We need to change those mindsets. It will take a bit of time. However, encouraging people to consider disciplines beyond and probably letting our students, under kind of career counseling that we do, maybe we can start educating or creating a bit of awareness what kinds of trainings happen under these programs. So we are not just teaching. If you talk about visionary discourse, if you talk about critical discourse, if you talk about media, in our program, students study discourse analysis with respect to media. And this is where they are also entering into media. So I hope I've answered your question.
Definitely, ma'am. And being a graduate of NAD, I'm feeling so proud right now. You have no idea, but because obviously we have quite a few more graduates of NAD who joined ZABIST English department. You'll be very happy. So again, after having felt proud, so I'd like to now move to Dr. Binay Usmani, sir. Like again, it's difficult to digest it, if I may use the exact word, that someone coming from applied linguistics background or literature background can work in quality assurance committee or department. So if a student wants to be, because I'm now talking, I'm representing a thought of an undergraduate student or a student who has just graduated, not only of ZABIST, but if any other university. So if a student wants to be an internee, let's say, in a QEC department or anywhere, because the person is, or the student is interested in pursuing this career, so what specific skills do you think that the university should teach the student, and what specific courses could you specify that the student should have gone through before joining as an internee in QEC?
Okay, let me connect your question to your first question with Dr. Sajda. I may be a bit awkward in my comment, but This is the irony of higher education institution in Pakistan. We don't have curriculum development policy. We develop the curriculum or we borrow it from Higher Education Commission. Now, if we borrow some curriculum from Higher Education Commission, and if we don't identify the graduate attributes, and if you don't identify graduate attributes, what are you going to assess by the end of the program? Just imagine, if you are a teacher, what are you contributing in formulating a complete graduate? What happens? You complete your course, you assume that you have done your job. The next year, another teacher, he contributes his course and then he claims that he has done his job. Who has the ownership of the graduate? Nobody. The head of the department manages the courses. And there comes the role of quality assurance. We need to identify the graduate attributes. And when the graduate attributes are identified, we'll be able to see where we can place these graduates. It is very obvious that people claim that English graduate will be teaching English only. Because it's very simple, because they have not been told what they're going to do. Trust me, when I completed my master's, I did not know. I'm not blaming my teachers. I'm not blaming the system. The only flaw that exists is we ourselves as academic administrators don't know what we are aiming at. And this is common throughout higher education institution in Pakistan. We produce graduates without telling them what they're going to do. This is number one. Number two, even if we produce somebody, we produce job seekers. We have not talked about job creators. Talk to a BS computer science and he'll say, I hold a company and I employ people. Ask BS English, have you started some venture? Your answer will be no. ZABIST had a big stall in job fair by Sindh Higher Education Commission. I could not taste, probably there may be one, but I could not taste any graduate from English department or studying English department coming up with some unique idea as entrepreneur. We need to understand one thing. Quality assurance is the backbone of higher education institution, and without it, higher education institutions are not going to sustain their identity in the world. This is number one. Number two, how to be an intern in quality assurance. If you do a market survey, your leadership, people from English department, if they do a simple market research, they will identify two major fields for English graduates. Number one, quality assurance. Number two, ORIC. Throughout Pakistan, you will keep searching people and you will not find a good professional in ORIC. You identify many professionals good in writing skills, good in writing research papers, but they don't know about ORIC. They don't know how to market their product. They don't know how to translate their ideas into practice. Similarly, in quality assurance, I come across several graduates. They have the capacity, but the problem is they don't know that they have the capacity of doing this. So what are the basic skills to be an intern first in any QEC department? The first thing is you need to understand how curriculum is developed. Number two, you need to understand how teaching should be effectively done in classroom. Number three, you need to understand how assessment is carried out in higher education institution. It's not the assessment that you are carrying out in your institutions. Graduate attributes. How do you identify that you have achieved what you aimed at? Let's talk to BS English faculty members. What did you contribute into this graduate, a specific graduate? For example, Tessa. He demonstrates what he has learned throughout his academic career, but ended up in teaching. The point is, did he try or did he identify avenues? Trust me, we need people. The idea is very simple. Go to a university. My university is always open for that. Go to any university, meet the QC professionals and offer your services. The first skill that you need is good writing skills. Number two, analytical skills, and as I said before, curriculum, teaching, and assessment. These are the three significant attributes that will help you build your career in quality enhancement cell. Finally, even if you don't find any avenue, start applying to different QECs. Trust me, people have got, in our QA department, we have got dentist, fresh BDS, working as assistant director QEC. D-Form working as assistant director QEC. Simple computer science graduate working as data analyst. We have people, but we have acute shortage of people who know how to write, people who know how to express themselves. So even in my department, I have got only 2 people, and my additional director is PhD in English. She did her master's in English and then PhD in English. Another intern that has recently joined us is BDS. We need people. They can be trained in couple of weeks only, not even months. Because BS graduate, BS English graduates have essential qualification, that is teaching and learning, assessment, and curriculum, basics of curriculum. With that, if you possess this, if you are confident for that, but again, I request the department, and I have conveyed the same to Karachi University, the department should identify, should meet some QEC experts, should ask them what attributes are required. These should be embedded in the programs. Then you'll be able to do this session with your graduating students. Many of you complete graduating student survey form, but you don't know what attributes were expected from you. So with this, I hope you're going to serve in QEC as well.
Thank you so much, Rashad. And this has just given us the idea that not only QEC can accommodate BS English students, but audit department can also accommodate or can also hire students. And talking about the job fairs, because we've just started this program and this was our second intake, and that was the basic reason for having this panel discussion, so that the audience and the people can also understand that English is very vast and it has this element in it that it can absorb and dissolve in anything. So I'm really very grateful for you to pointing out another department that can accommodate people from English background. Dr. Tafsir, and after Dr. Tafsir, I'll come to Anna Mashura, because Dr. Tafsir, for instance, if a student is interested in AI, but there are the only avenue perceptually available, the perception is this, that if you wish to pursue AI field, computer sciences is the only way that you can do it. But if I ask you that if a student wishes to pursue AI and has good language skills, but does not have that specificity or capacity about all the computer language courses or all the computer sciences, so can BS English be also a way of entering in the AI field? Is it possible? Because you're now mashallah scientist. So what if someone wants to join you as an internee or as an assistant? What do you think the person should be capable of, and what courses should the person have studied?
Okay, thank you. So before answering it, I want to share your experience of speaking in the presence of the teacher. So Dr. Altaf Mukati was my teacher at Karachi University in 1997, 1998. So now coming to the point, yes, it can be done. And in the current scenario, there is another advantage that prompt engineering, writing prompts for the large language model, you can write in human languages. So you have an idea, you write in English or even in Urdu, Sindhi. It is possible that you write it in step by step and ask the computer, the large language model to do it, and it will do it in many cases, in most of the cases, in a very good way. So one is prompt. Now the hurdle of the learning programming language is minimized. It is not taken away, but it is minimized. So at least for the proof of concept, one can write problem in human language and ask a computer to do it. The other thing is to learn the first is you can learn Python language. which is popular in these days. And by learning Python language, you can use the libraries and the modules available for natural language processing and AI and get your results. And in this regard, an important aspect is the faculty and the curriculum planners should focus on it, because in most of the departments there is, on most of the streams, there is one course of introduction to programming or introduction to computer science. They are in mechanical engineering it is available, even I think in linguistics it is available, in many disciplines it is available. However, when the courses are planned, they are planned in an archaic way. When I started programming, my first programming language was Pascal. Then I went to Visual Basic, C, Java, and now Python. I love Java as the best language, but I work on Python because AI applications are built better in Python. So in many of our curriculum languages, they are not the generic ones. It is the course of Java programming or C programming. Today is the time of Python programming. Maybe next year XYZ programming language will appear. So the courses should be, the computer science courses should be generic. That we will teach a programming language, or for linguistic analysis we will introduce a tool that can do the syntactic parsing, or that can do the morphological analysis. One should not name the tool that we will use AntConc, or we will use Stanford NLP library. It should be generic ones. So we can, in every semester, we can introduce the current state of the art. So current state of the art, coming to the student, the current state of art is Python language. So they can learn Python language, and Coursera and YouTube are the have a lot of resources. There is a course on Coursera, Python for everyone. They can start from that there, and they can find examples in which how they can learn how to use natural language processing libraries like SPACE, or how can they use DeepSeek. If we just one more thing, that I recorded some YouTube lectures in 2020. They are available, computational linguistics for Pakistan. I think what was natural language processing for Pakistani linguistics, and its slides and code are available on GitHub. Now I restarted it for recording those for the current scenario to include the large language models, etc. So if you connect with me on LinkedIn or search on the YouTube, you will find it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Saab, for this information, and I'm sure that people are definitely going to, watch your videos, and they're going to learn a lot from you. Thank you so much. Let's go to Ms. Anna. Anna, I have, the nature of the question is the same, but since you are from slightly different field, so with your expertise specifically in CBT and NLP and mindfulness, how can BS English students integrate interdisciplinary approaches like neuroscience and psychology into their careers, particularly in the fields of beyond traditional teaching?
With pleasure, absolutely. So if you are that kind of person that likes to fix change, you're not afraid to ask questions, and you can see what is unseen. That's what I say, because the cognitive behavioral therapy, for example, is obviously everything in the mind, but everything starts with thoughts, and later on it's emotions, and then those emotions lead you to some actions. And if you're in the classroom, putting that into that context, you observe learners, you want to motivate them, you want to see the results in behavior, right? But what I do is, you can first tackle the level of processing skills, okay, avoiding cognitive overload, just tapping into their meta model. If you're not familiar with that terminology, we all process information in a different way. So now, how can you integrate that? In fact, with the experience of over 20 years and working with neurodivergent learners, that means, for example, with dyslexia, dyscalculia, dysgraphia, and so on, So those brains definitely process information in a totally different way, which is okay, like neurodiversity, biodiversity. Once you put all those pieces together, knowing the workings of your mind, and you observe and know that that person can learn faster this way. I can say learn faster. You see, it's all about facilitating that, but I am flexible enough and I can adopt. So in a way you're changing, trying to give the strategies, give the techniques, and being a therapist, integrating, instead of a separate session, just putting those strategies into a learning session, then you get the results. So if this is something for you, if you're listening to me right now and think, okay, I love psychology, I love psycholinguistics, I would love to get more information on neuroscience, put all those pieces together, see if you are that kind of person. But you need to be able to go with the flow. Sometimes you never know. You need to be in the classroom first. Okay, so from teaching, then you observe one-to-one sessions, workshops, and sometimes you may even discover something new. So I create materials. There are different books, but they would not suit neurodivergent learners. And there are different projects as well. There are things you can do in the classroom, all right, with the curriculum, but there are things you will not. So reach out to people that will show you other ways. Be very, very flexible and open-minded. I work on the national curriculum, so there are changes being made as we speak. So again, what can be done? Do not be afraid to present something new, different. It should be a whole school approach as well, because you may find yourself in a spot that I want to change something, but I don't have people around me. So reach out and talk to other specialists, consult, and so on. I run a lot of different special interest groups. You can join us. Some sessions are free, like most of them, but again, be yourself, be unique, dream big, and this is what I tell everybody. Think outside of the box and get a unique set of skills, because every graduate would have the basic skills, foundational level. So what can you do? The extra bit, I always say, and tapping into the meta model. Respect differences with compassion, empathy, adaptability, one more time. So I've created this method, teaching with therapeutic techniques. If you want to know more, you know where to find me. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Anna. And I hope we will definitely be looking forward to having some sort of collaboration with you from ZABIST and your organization to promote NLP in Pakistan. And I'd love to have you as panelists, in future as well, to give more details about how NLP, how a student can pursue the field of NLP, definitely. I have last question from Mr. Hassan Bilal. So, what specific skills or experiences, like you mentioned in your talk, that you would rather have a graduate of student in the media than any other field? So what if, what specific skills or experiences should BS English student develop if they aspire to work in the media industry, particularly in editorial roles, like the leading newspapers like Dawn? So what would you like to see in them?
Unfortunately, by the time you get hold of the student, their writing style has already been developed. You can't teach them how to write. Okay, that is contingent on the way that they've been brought up, what language is spoken in the house, what books they had access to growing up, what pop culture they consumed, where they lived. So a Pakistani person, speaking Urdu and English in the household may have been living in Kuwait all their lives. And, so that's a very different life perspective to bring. And if you're somebody who lands in a school like HSN or KGS or, government college or KU from that context, then anything that you teach them will be a bit alien to them, right? So it's not just about what the student of BS English brings to the table. It's about anybody bringing that to the table. as people have spoken here before, analytical skills, reading comprehension, understanding of context, understanding of translation and transliteration. So phrases in Urdu, for instance, one of my favorite things to talk about is idioms and metaphors and similes. How do you translate them from language to language? This is an issue that linguists, writers have been struggling with for centuries. And so I used to work at BBC Urdu. I'll give you a small example. There was a great BBC news piece about this British footballer who was involved with the Saudi royal. And in the story there was a line that said he was sucking up to the Arabs. Now this definitely means that he was being very obsequious towards them, he was trying to get on their good books. The translator who sent the copy back, you can imagine what they wrote. वो अरबियों को चूस रहे थे. They were actually, it's all about the context, right? That even Google Translate could have made that same mistake. But the problem is that when you divorce the understanding of a concept from the context of what you're talking about, then understanding anything or relaying an understanding of anything becomes very difficult, right? This is the main point that people have to understand. Writing is about making things accessible, as I've said before, and capturing things as accurately as possible. It's not a formula, okay? Especially if you're talking about writing for journalism or writing creatively, that kind of the way, as our speaker rightly pointed out, everybody has different pathways in their brain. So, you can start your journey from point X and get to point Y alongside everybody else, but the route you take in the middle may not be the same as everybody else. You may arrive at a realization in a much more circuitous, much more roundabout way than perhaps other people, some people have difficulty understanding certain concepts, such as mathematical concepts. I count myself as one of those people. I can understand politics, mathematics eludes me. But somebody else on this panel, Dr. Saab, perhaps would have the opposite problem, or somebody might not understand financial terms, dense financial terms, as well as they would. It is the job of the journalist to convey those concepts in a manner, in language that is completely accessible to everybody. One of my pet peeves is with the use of abbreviations. Why use so many abbreviations? That automatically shuts out most of the room from what you're talking about. You've used a couple of abbreviations to refer to your courses, and but I have no idea what you're talking about. So essentially at one level there's that you're creating that barrier of communication by using those abbreviations. Similarly with jargon, with acronyms, these are the things that raise barriers rather than pulling them down. I'd like to also address something that Dr. Saab very rightly pointed out, that
So if you could be a bit concise, because we have time constraints.
yes, so 10 seconds. The use of AI is not just limited to, like Imad Irfani, you talk to your Kia and you say, GPT, play the next song. You can have engaging conversations with AI. You can have philosophical discussions with AI. You can talk about concepts, scientific terms, try to understand things from it, but don't follow it blindly. We have resources such as perplexity.ai, for example, which is a search engine powered by AI technology, which doesn't just give you an answer. It gives you referenced answers. It gives you links that, this is the information I've got from this source. Even if it is hallucinating, you can find out that it's hallucinating, okay? So when people use AI now, nobody's training their own llama and an offline system at home. They're all using it, DeepSeek, or ChatGPT online, okay? You're never getting a clean experience. If you want to use AI for your own purposes, whether it's journalism, whether it's writing, you have to train it on your own material. You can't feed it then Wikipedia, Because Wikipedia also contains hallucinations. It's not an accurate source of information. Everybody in this room should know this already. So, the use of, again, also, one last thing, the large language model does not operate like a human being, as an adult human being. Perhaps you can consider it a neurodivergent human being, because it will not look at things in terms of do this, don't do this. It will calculate and assign values to those tokens. Words are tokens for it. So if you tell it, do not touch this, it won't understand it. It will just collate the sum of those values and give you an output that that it thinks is suitable to you. So one aspect of prompt engineering that we're taught is that try to avoid giving it negative statements, right? If you use AI to augment your work rather than replace your work, your assignment should not be written by AI. It can be edited by AI, right? Grammarly can be used to parse through to improve your expression, but the voice has to be yours. The storytelling has to be yours. AI cannot tell the story for you. And that is the main message that I want to leave people with, that these are tools that will augment your capabilities to become creators, to become artists, dreamers, language users and people, like me especially, we're dreamers. We don't think about the practical aspects. We don't think about the entrepreneurship angle. We want to create something. We want to give meaning to something. And that's the message that I wish to leave people with as well, that the drive to just make money should not limit you from expressing your creative self. You will find an avenue for it, whichever field it may be, and you will find a day job. But that creativity must always come through, and we must grab our humanity to stop it from being overrun by artificial humanity.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry we won't be able to have questions because of the time constraints. We draw this panel discussion to a close. I extend my deepest gratitude to our distinguished panelists for sharing their expertise, our engaged audience, and the people who have made it possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. I request you all to please remain on stage. I will now request President ZABIST, Madam Shahnaz Wazir Ali, and Vice President, Academics Professor Dr. Altaf Mukati to please come onto the stage and give the token of appreciation to our esteemed panelists.
Professor Dr. Sajida Zaki. Mr. Abdul Wahid Usmani. Dr. Tafsir Ahmed. Mr. Hassan Bilal Zaidi. And our moderator, Mr. Syed Kaisar Hussain.
Please remain on stage for a group photo. Please remain on the stage for a group photo.
Thank you, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, please settle down. We will be shortly beginning our next panel discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, please settle down. We'll be beginning shortly with our next panel discussion. Next, we have a panel discussion on higher education in Pakistan, achievements and the way forward. I would like to invite Dr. Fareed Panjwani, Dean Institute for Educational Development, AKU, to please come onto the stage and proceed the session.
Good afternoon and adab to all of you who are here. I am very glad that I have this opportunity to moderate this panel, but I have two great challenges. First, ये जो panel हमसे पहले किया, बहुत शानदार panel, बहुत कुछ सीखा. Thank you very much to all of you. It will be really amazing to even match that. But then I have a great panel here, amazing people. I will be calling them soon, and I'm sure that the breadth and depth that we saw earlier will be matched in this panel as well. So, let me invite the members here. Dr. S.M. Tariq Rafi, Chairman, Sindh Higher Education Commission. May I request him to please join us. Professor Dr. Syed Tipu Sultan, Chancellor, Malid University of Science and Technology. मैं ऑर्डर में तब्दीली करता हूं थोड़ा जेंडर बैलेंस लाने के लिए. डॉक्टर हुमा बकाई, रेक्टर, मिलेनियम इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी एंड एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप. प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर आसिफ अहमद शेख, वाइस चांसलर, सक्खर IBA यूनिवर्सिटी. We are perhaps missing. Yeah. Professor Dr. Altaf Mukati, Vice President Academics, ZABIST University. Dr. Nida Kirmani, Director of the Saida Waheed Gender Initiative, Lahore University of Management Sciences, LUMS. Last but not the least, Professor Dr. Mujibuddin Sahrai Maimun, Vice Chancellor, Singh Madrasatul Islam University. Okay. Dr. Rafi, let me begin with you. Since as the Chairman of Higher Education Commission, you have a very good sense of the scene of higher education. So if you may wish to start by telling us, how do you see the role of Higher Education Commission? How do you see the role of the Higher Education Commission? And, sir, please, and how do you see some of the achievements and challenges of the Higher Education Commission today?
Thank you for inviting me over here. If you look at the higher education, the progress that it has made in the last 20 years is remarkable. In Pakistan, I'm talking about. From only 86 universities, now we have got more than 284 universities in Pakistan. It's not only the number that has increased, it's also the number of students that has increased. And also on the global, when you check it on the Times and other indexes, Pakistan universities have also progressed much. Now, if you look at the provincial-wise, if we talk about Sindh, which I am the chairman of the higher education, we have got 64 functional universities in the province of Sindh. 30 of them are in the public sector and 34 of them are in the private sector. I won't say all of them, but majority of them are performing a very important role in educating our youth for the higher education. The number of students that are enrolled throughout Pakistan crosses 250,000, and they are, all of them are not equally being blessed with the university status that we have in Pakistan. But majority of them have got the same curriculum, have got the same syllabus that they go through. The standards of education in different universities is definitely different, and then it depends upon a number of factors. What is the main challenge? The main challenge that we see is how to grow as per international standards. What we compare ourselves is according to our own national standards, and unfortunately, none of our universities can be ranked in amongst the 100 or 500 universities in the world. We may be standing and performing very well, but it requires a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of hard work to achieve the standard which our neighboring countries like India or we can talk about Iran had even achieved, or China has achieved. We have not been able to achieve that. But at the same time, what we can talk about, one of the most important challenges that we can be reading about is that the management and the administrative skills of those who run the universities needs to be looked into. And that is one thing that we are trying at the Higher Education Commission in Sindh to improve upon the capacity building of our vice chancellors, registrars and others who are at the head of the affairs. I think that is one main challenge that we have. And you will be surprised if you talk about public sector universities that for us, finances is not a big issue in Sindh. Of the 30 public sector universities that we have in Sindh, the province of Sindh and the government of Sindh is providing us 34 billion rupees in the recurring grant and 8 billion rupees in the development fund. That comes to a total of 42 billion. Compared with that in Punjab, if you see, there are 54 public sector universities. And the total amount of money that Punjab government is giving to them is only 7 billion. 34 public sector universities in KPK, and the KPK government is only giving them 2 billion rupees. In Balochistan, they have got 11 public sector universities, and the Balochistan government is giving them 7 billion rupees. So financially, Sindh has got no issue. The issue that we have over here is our management capacity that we need to improve upon.
Great, thank you very much. Professor Meenu, if I may then ask you, one of the things mentioned now and in the previous session as well, that we have many universities now, almost close to 300. Is this a good thing necessarily? It's on, I think.
Okay, thank you. I thought that I will be asking the second last question. So thank you very much giving me a chance. I will continue with Dr. Tariq Saab. To me, there are 3-4 major answers to your question. Number one, as Dr. Tariq Saab mentioned about the resources. So what we see in the last, I may say in the 20 years, that the Higher Education Commission Islamabad has a huge problem with the distribution of the funds. In fact, we see that on the recurring side, we have just a 64 billion for the whole Pakistan. Then again we see into the Punjab particularly, then there is a huge growth of the campuses. Similarly, if I come down to Sindh, then again you see we have, like Tariq Saab mentioned, 30 universities. And in the last 10-15 years, we have doubled the universities in this province as well. So you see, the number one is the France, which is the major thing. But to me, frankly, even if I just ignore, in fact, the finance, because to me is the quality, to me is the exposure to our young population is more important. For example, if I just quote my example, which I always quote in order to tell my youth here, that when I did my matriculation in 1979 from Dadu, then surprisingly my father decided, I didn't know that, but my father decided that Mujib shall go to Karachi and have an education from DJ College, one of the still prime college, I believe. So I got intermediate from DJ College out of the way. All my siblings got education from Dadu. So you see, you got an exposure. Today, I always say there is a huge importance and influence on me having an education in Karachi. And then, of course, I moved across the world. So that is also very important, that the students or the youth shall get the exposure. And the third thing, which is the quality of education. I mean, I shall not take the names, which may not be good, but I think all of us who are concerned with the education in the higher education and even in the SIN, there's a huge duplication. There's a huge duplication of the resources, duplication of the programs. You have a campuses of the same field, specific same fields. Like if I just say engineering, then you have one college in Khairpur, one college in Larkana. I mean, it's just a one bridge across. The same way, you know, is a huge growth. Like you have a veterinary university in Sakran and an agriculture huge university in Tandojam. Why shall not we put all of our resources to the Tandojam? Because the Tandojam don't have a salary to pay. So why shall not we strengthen the veterinary faculty of the Tandojam? In fact, having a new university it maybe 70 kilometers away from Tandojam. The same thing is in Karachi also. There are a huge number of programs. I mean, we talk about international collaborations, but I say why shall not have a very good collaboration of Sindh Madrasatul Islam, my university, with the Karachi University to utilize the resources. So I think that's
no, thank you very much. I think this is a very important point, that just having numbers is one thing, but how do you position those numbers and create synergies is very important. Huma, अगर मैं आपकी तरफ आपसे बात हो रही थी, and you said that you have great regard for Higher Education Commission, but you also feel that there are some ways in which some improvements can happen. Here is your chance.
Well, frankly speaking, I think all regulatory bodies struggle with regulation and finding a balance between regulation and academic freedom. However, in Pakistan, because perhaps this is comparatively new, the regulation is more about ticking boxes and doing immense amount of paperwork over and over again, which may not have any value whatsoever. Then interestingly, because we are one of the youngest countries in the world with 65% of population under the age of 30, and universities hold huge cohorts of youth, so every time the government thinks something should be done, they will write a letter to the HEC, and the HEC will write a letter to the university to say, do character building. Do something to do character building. Then do something to do nation building. Then do something to do Kashmir Day. These are ticking the boxes, because the same HEC does not allow you to develop your own curricula. You can only pick up something which is on the HEC menu. And, thank you. Hiring new faculty, introducing new programs, doing something out of the box is not encouraged, it's curtailed. So yes, this regulation is important, but I think we should also seek some academic freedom. Then I have had the distinction of serving both in a public sector university and now in a private university. No funding is given by HEC Sindh or HEC federal government to private universities. However, regulatory mechanisms are much harsher for private universities than public sector universities, thinking that these universities somehow, अगर मुझे इजाज़त दें इस non-academic word को इस्तेमाल करने का, कि शायद जो private sector universities हैं वो किसी किस्म की नौसरबाजी कर रही हैं. वो नौसरबाजी नहीं कर रही हैं. देखिए, आपने एक परफॉर्मा बनाया है, उसमें बहुत सारे बॉक्सेस हैं, जिसमें आप मुझे कहते हैं कि जिस दिन यूनिवर्सिटी बने, और जब मैं आपके पास इवैल्यूएशन किया हूँ तारिक रफ़ी साहब बहुत सारी माजरत के साथ, उस दिन आपके पास एक असिस्टेंट डायरेक्टर और डायरेक्टर QAC हो, आपके पास एक ऑडिट का डायरेक्टर हो, आपके पास एक कंट्रोलर एग्जामिनेशन हो. आप मुझे स्टाफिंग की इतनी बड़ी रिक्वायरमेंट देते हैं कि आप मुझसे मेरी फाइनेंशियल सस्टेनेबिलिटी को छीन लेते हैं. आई शुड बी अलाउड टू गिव ड्यूअल roles to existing people to bring university to sustainable levels. मतलब कोई टाइम पीरियड कर दीजिए ना. आप मुझे नंबर नहीं देते क्योंकि मैंने डायरेक्टर और एक नहीं हायर किया, आप मुझे नंबर नहीं देते क्योंकि मैंने डायरेक्टर QAC नहीं हायर किया या डायरेक्टर एग्जामिनेशन नहीं हायर किया। आप मुझे 5 साल दें, 7 साल दें कि मैं वहां तक पहुंचूं कि मैं ये सब कर सकूं। सो आई थिंक I am all for HEC. I think HEC Sindh is doing a great job. When they come to us, they categorically say that we are here for mentorship and hand-holding, and not for just regulation and shutting you down or whatsoever. But at the same time, I think the mechanisms need a deeper dive. The mechanisms right now are not conducive to private initiatives. And believe you me, in Pakistan, in Karachi, in Sindh, anywhere, unless the private sector takes over the burden of education, we cannot provide education to the length and breadth of Pakistan.
Thank you very much. I will certainly let Dr. Tariq Rafi respond, but in a little while, because I don't want the discussion to be completely dominated by Higher Education Commission only. Dr. Tipu Sultan, पहले तो हम आपके नाम से ही इम्प्रेस हो जाते हैं। आप चांसलर हैं मलीर यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी। लॉट ऑफ डिस्कशन अबाउट टेक्नोलॉजी। कुछ लोगों का ख्याल है दैट्स वेयर द सैल्वेशन इज, सम कहते आर थिंकिंग दैट दिस इज रोड टू हेल, पेव्ड रोड टू हेल। अब आप ये बताइए कि टेक्नोलॉजी पे तो माशाल्लाह बहुत कुछ कर रहे होंगे, मगर जैसे एरिस्टोटल ने कहा, एजुकेटिंग द माइंड विदाउट एजुकेटिंग द हार्ट इज नो एजुकेशन। How do you see the education in the humanities and social science and the arts alongside educating your students in the technology?
Thank you very much. Thank you for praising the technology part, or I don't know, you are praising the other part of it. Well, in my opinion, both are important, but again, there is a difference of few decades that we must nowadays, this time and space is with the technology, and all the improvement in any direction is totally based on technology. So until unless we adopt the technology and the highest technology, there is a question of survival. We will not be able to survive. What to talk of nation number 1 or number 2? Regarding the other knowledge, yes, that is important to be a human being as such, because education is education, and either it could be of the brain or heart, whatever you call it. But टेक्नोलॉजी के बगैर तो जनाब आपका सर्वाइवल मुमकिन नहीं है। और टेक्नोलॉजी इन ऑल द फील्ड्स, मैं डॉक्टर हूँ तो मैं मेडिसिन की टेक्नोलॉजी की बात करूँगा कि साहब के सबसे आला और बेहतर हो, वाई नॉट। इस तरह से अगर कोई इंजीनियर है या अगर कोई और फील्ड्स में है तो वी शुड बी नंबर 1। और उसके साथ तालीम के साथ जो टेक्नोलॉजी की बात कर रहे हैं उसके साथ और एक का भी होना ज़रूरी है, इसलिए कि देयर इज़ नो पॉइंट हैविंग ए नॉलेज टेक्नोलॉजी एंड देन यू आर ऑन द रोड। सो until unless we connect the industry and the technology and the education, then we will not be able to survive as such. And as you can see that we are very lacking behind in technology and education in this world. So where are we in the world map of science and technology and education and the university, whatsoever you call it?
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Allow me to go to Professor Asif Ahmed Sheikh. Sir, how do you see this relationship between technology and the humanities in your universities, and what would be your advice to us on that?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you so very much. I will start with the previous discussion first. I mean, we have talked about higher education as well as the Sindh higher education role. To me, I extra appreciate the performance of our Sindh Higher Education Commission, and it is evident that out of the whole country, the Sindh government and the Sindh HEC is the only HEC which is imparting huge financial resources towards the improvement and quality in higher education, which should always be appreciated. And it is acknowledged at all levels at federal government level. Now, Higher Education Commission, Islamabad is slowly and gradually reducing its contribution. And only yesterday I was in Islamabad where I knew that probably this new financial year, which is going to start from July, they are further reducing the financial resources to the provincial governments. Now, in this scenario, if Sindh Higher Education Commission doesn't impart the financial support to the universities, should I say public sector universities, probably it would be the difficult situation, because most of these students are from the underprivileged class. They are dependent upon the public sector universities. And then I will connect it to Dr. Bakai's discussion that the fees structure in the public sector universities is drastically low in comparison to the private sector universities. Now, if the public sector universities increases the fees, then a large chunk of our population, the youth, the potential enrolled students in the universities, they will be like out of the university education. Secondly, Higher Education Commission introduces in the year 2013 the Quality Assurance Agency. During the infancy period, the Quality Assurance Agency, they were going so smoothly, not burdening too much to the universities, but slowly and gradually till now, the requirements towards the uniformity of the quality and improvement in the higher education quality is alhamdulillah going very smoothly and to the positivity. I remained Director QEC at NED University before I joined Sakhar IBA University for almost 8 years, wherein the parameters are disclosed to all public and private sector universities, and now it is dependent upon the university how they take it up. Furthering to that, Sindh Higher Education Commission for the last 2-3 years, they have also started the CIEC visits, the Chartered Inspection Evaluation Committee, together with the IPE visits of the Institutional Performance Evaluation visits of the HEC. Now, going all this, to me, as an academician and as the Vice Chancellor of one of the leading business schools, Sakhar IBA, I personally feel that the country towards Higher Education Commission is going towards positivity, and if we compare a decade back, we have improved a lot. Secondly, your question, technology, yes, it is very important. Without technology, we cannot even move one step forward. And we had a discussion with Sindh HEC officials, including the chairman sahab who is sitting together here, as well as the secretary and secretary UNB. We are in a process to have a uniform database system. डुप्लीकेशन की बात हुई कि जी डेटा डुप्लीकेट हो रहा है, आईपी के लिए अलग कीजिए, सेल्फ असेसमेंट रिपोर्ट एक्रीडिटिंग बॉडी के लिए अलग कीजिए, so that those problems can be taken over with the introduction of the technology into the higher education. Timely information is extra important. To me, talking with the students who are the biggest stakeholders in the universities, we have to take on board our students in every policy. At Sakhar IBA University, we have taken the student nominee in our statutory bodies, so that they be always on board what we are doing and for what intention we are making policies.
Thank you very much ji. Allow me come to Nida. Nida, दो चीज़ें, एक तो हुमा ने टच किया the need for academic freedom, and you have been a great advocate for that. My question to you would be, can we hope to have a thriving higher education sector in the absence of larger freedom of speech and freedom of thought in the society?
Hello, yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Panjwani. Thank you for inviting me to the conference. I'm a bit of an oddball on the panel. I'm not involved in the administration of my university. I teach sociology at Lahore University of Management Sciences, and the other reason I'm an oddball is because I'm Lahore mein based hu, lekin main Karachi bhi aati rehti hu, so I also feel a strong connection with Karachi. तो आपने academic freedom की बात की थी, तो I had planned to talk about academic freedom, and I do try to be an advocate for it. And I do have some serious concerns about the shrinking space for academic freedom across universities in Pakistan. And I think this has been going on for the past decades, honestly. It's not something that's new. I think many people who are critical of the current government think that it just began a few years ago. But really, if we look at history, then restrictions on academic freedom have been there since probably the 1950s, and we could write that history, and somebody should. But I don't think the economic conditions of the university are separate from the political conditions of the university. So I think this question of privatization is also linked with the question of academic freedom and the cuts to funding for public sector education. I agree that perhaps funding is not the only issue, but I do think that the serious cuts we've had over the especially last 2 years, to spending in higher education in the public sector means that faculty teaching in the public sector do not have the space to be able to carry out critical research or to do their teaching properly. So if you're worried about where your next paycheck is coming from, which is actually the situation perhaps not in Sindh, which I think economically perhaps there's more funding for higher education compared to Punjab, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and Balochistan. But still, we know that our faculty in public sector universities are struggling just to make ends meet. In Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, we've had faculty who have not received their salaries for months. In Balochistan, the situation is the same. How can a faculty member and academic be expected to think freely when they're worried about where they're going to get money to put food on their table? So this is not disconnected. The economic conditions and the political conditions are very much intertwined. So I do think this introduction of this increase in private universities, and I am a hypocrite because I'm sitting in a private university, probably one of the most well-known private universities in Pakistan, LUMS, but I do think the introduction of the private university system, and I'm sorry to disagree with Dr. Baqai on this, is harming academic freedom across the country. Because what happens is that then most of the resources end up being placed in the private sector. The more well-trained, no offense to anyone working in the public sector, but universities like LUMS end up attracting professors with PhDs from prestigious universities in North America and Europe, drawing the more high-achieving students as well, thus depleting the quality of education in the public sector. And so I always have like a guilty burden on myself because I'm part of LUMS and I appreciate that university. And this is not about individual universities or individual institutions, but about an entire structure and a process that we call neoliberalism. And so that process of neoliberalism is introducing increasingly a profit motive in our education system, which is decreasing the space for critical, free thinking. Because when you have a profit motive, then your concern is not to open students' minds, your concern is how are you going to make more money? And that's not the point of education, in my opinion.
Thank you. In fact, many would also argue that that has gone down to the school level as well, and the same kind of concerns that the economic aim of education has overtaken and overshadowed other aims of education. But let me go to Professor Altaf Muqtai, and I came to you last because you are the host, so I thought I will come to you at the very end. The title of today's conference includes the idea of fostering inclusion. My question to you would be, sir, in your university, how have you fostered inclusion to ensure that it is good quality education which you give, but it is available to people from all backgrounds?
First of all, my name is not Muqtai, I'm Muqati. And thank you very much for asking me the question at the last, because I'm basically the host, not the guest. The question you have asked, the word quality you have used. Quality has become a buzzword for me. And for most of the academicians who understand what the quality should be, it is a relative term. Now, I want to start my speech from the very beginning. ये जब HEC came into being in 2003, उससे पहले ये UGC था, ठीक है? UGC को जब ट्रांसफॉर्म किया HEC में, तो उसका एक थोड़ा सा रोल इन्हांस किया کہ the money which you used to give to the public sector universities, تو اس پہ کچھ کوالٹی کی چیک رکھیں. اب وہ کوالٹی چیک کیا ہوگا, یہ بھی بڑا اگین کوشچن ہے. مجھے یاد ہے جب یہ فرسٹ چیئرمین صاحب تھے فیڈرل ایچ ای سی کے. بائی دا وے آئی کین ٹیل یو کہ دیر از اے لاٹ آف ڈفرینس ان ایٹیٹیوڈ فرام سندھ ایچ ای سی اینڈ فیڈرل ایچ ای سی. سندھ ایچ ای سی کو میں جب جاتا ہوں آفس میں تو مجھے لگتا ہے میں اپنے آفس میں گیا ہوں, لیکن جب میں فیڈرل ایچ ای سی کے آفس میں جاتا ہوں تو مجھے لگتا ہے کسی پولیس اسٹیشن پہ جا رہا ہوں میں. تو یہ بڑا واضح فرق ہے. آئی ایم تھینکفل دیٹ طارق رفیع صاحب ہیز کریٹڈ سچ این انوائرمنٹ فار آل آف دا یونیورسٹیز. تو میں 2003 کی بات کر رہا تھا, جب ٹرانسفارم کیا تو اس کے جو پالیسی ڈاکومنٹس ہیں اس میں لفظ فیسیلیٹیٹر لکھا ہوا تھا. دا ورڈ فیسیلیٹیٹر واز یوزڈ. لیٹر آن آئی ڈونٹ نو وین اٹ بیکمس ریگولیٹر, اور اس کے بعد تو پھر وہ تھانے کے ایس ایچ او بن گئے. تو پرابلم از کہ جنہوں نے پالیسی بنائی تھی شروع میں, فرسٹ ڈاکومنٹ ڈرافٹ پالیسی میں نے اس کو دیکھی تھی, اور اس پالیسی میں جو ٹیم تھی who made that policy, اس میں زیادہ تر لوگ پبلک سیکٹر یونیورسٹی کے وائس چانسلر تھے اور 2-3 بیوروکریٹس تھے. ٹھیک ہے, انہوں نے کبھی یہ پریڈکٹ نہیں کیا, نصیحت نہیں کیا کہ there will be a big private sector may come in this area of field. اتنا بڑا پرائیویٹ سیکٹر ہے, اینڈ آئی ایم ریئلی سپورٹیو ٹو واٹ ڈاکٹر ہما سیڈ کہ پرائیویٹ سیکٹر کا اگر کنٹریبیوشن نہ ہو تو پتہ چلے گا کہ کتنے پرابلمس ہیں. لیکن جب وہ ڈاکومنٹ بنایا گیا اور اس میں جو کوالٹی کے اسٹینڈرڈ سیٹ کیے گئے, تو میں نے اس لیے بزورڈ کہا کوالٹی کو, کیونکہ اس ڈاکومنٹ میں یونیورسٹی کے پاس ہاسٹل ہے, یونیورسٹی کے پاس ٹرانسپورٹ فیسلٹی ہے. ہاسٹل ہے تو گرلز ہاسٹل الگ ہے, بوائز ہاسٹل الگ ہے, پلے ایریا ہے, گراؤنڈ ہے. دیز آر دی چیک لسٹ, اور اس کی بیس پہ آپ کہتے ہیں کہ جی جس یونیورسٹی کے پاس یہ چیزیں ہیں اس کی کوالٹی اچھی ہوگی. دس از سم تھنگ مسکنسیپشن ایٹ آل. ایچ ای سی کا ڈیو ریسپیکٹ ٹو فیڈرل ایچ ای سی, کہ وین اینی انسٹیٹیوشن از فارمڈ سو اٹس ڈائریکشن شوڈ بی سیٹ پراپرلی. اگر ڈائریکشن غلط ہے تو آپ جتنی بھی اسپیڈ سے آگے جائیں آپ کبھی بھی ڈیسٹینیشن کو نہیں پہنچ سکتے. اینڈ دا سیم تھنگ ہیپنڈ بیکاز اٹس فرسٹ چیئرمین ڈاکٹر عطا ہیز اے ڈفرنٹ پرائورٹیز. اب میں اس ڈیٹیل میں نہیں جانا چاہ رہا, بٹ دا تھنگ از کہ جو ایچ ای سی کے گولز ہیں, آبجیکٹیوز ہیں, وہ کبھی بھی اچیو نہیں کر سکتے کیونکہ وہ اسی راستے پہ چل رہے ہیں. آپ نے ورڈ کوالٹی کا ورڈ یوز کیا, آپ ایبیٹ کا ڈاکومنٹ دیکھیں یا کیو ای سی کی جو رینکنگ ہوتی ہے اس کے ڈاکومنٹ دیکھیں تو 50% مارکس اس بات کے ملتے ہیں یونیورسٹی کو کہ ان کے گریجویٹس ہاؤ دے آر پرفارمنگ ان دا مارکیٹ, ویئر دے آر پلیسڈ. ہمارے یہاں تو کوئی ریگولیٹری باڈی جتنی بھی آتی ہے کسی نے بھی آج تک ہم سے یہ سوال نہیں کیا. ہم ایز اے کلٹسی بتا دیتے ہیں کہ ہمارے المنائی کہاں کہاں بیٹھے ہوئے ہیں. سو یو سی کہ ہماری پرائورٹیز ہی الگ ہے. ہم کوالٹی تو ورڈ یوز کرتے ہیں اور یہی وجہ شاید ہے کہ وی آر ناٹ کمنگ اپ ٹو دا رینکنگ آف کیو ای سی اور ادر تھنگس. جسٹ ون منٹ. جہاں تک ابھی جو بات ہوئی کہ سی آئی سی کا وزٹ, ہمارے دوست نے کہا سی آئی سی کا وزٹ کیا جاتا ہے, پبلک سیکٹر کے وائس چانسلرز پرائیویٹ یونیورسٹی کو وزٹ کر کے پرائیویٹ یونیورسٹی کی اسیسمنٹ کرتے ہیں. تو کیا یہ پاسبل نہیں ہے کہ پرائیویٹ یونیورسٹی کے وائس چانسلرز پبلک سیکٹر یونیورسٹی کی کارکردگی کا جائزہ لیں؟ آپ ذرا اس کو سوچیں. یہ تو پرابلم کر دے گا ان لوگوں کے لیے, کیونکہ ہم تو بڑے کوالٹی کانشیس ہیں. جتنی بھی کوالٹی ہم مینٹین کرتے ہیں اپنے حساب سے. ہم جو پالیسی بناتے ہیں وہ بورڈ آف اسٹڈیز, بورڈ آف فیکلٹی, اکیڈمک کونسل اس سے اپروڈ ہوتی ہیں, پھر ڈی او جی میں بھی لے جاتی ہیں, کوئی امپورٹنٹ چیزیں ہوتی ہیں. لیکن ایٹ دا اینڈ جب ایچ ای سی کا لیٹر آتا ہے کہ آپ یہ نہیں کر سکتے, وہ نہیں کر سکتے, تو پھر واٹ از دا ریسپیکٹ ٹو دا ریگولیٹری ٹو دا اسٹیچوری باڈیز آف دا یونیورسٹی. سو دس از اے بگ کوشچن.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I want to go to the audience, particularly because we were not able to go to them in the last panel as well. But I would like, very quickly, and then I want to...
Very quick responses. Dekhiye ji, I don't think it's private or public. It is a mindset. मैंने IBA में 17 साल पढ़ाया है. In 10 years, I was in positions of academic leadership. But long before me, an IBA is public sector. Quality IBA में HEC के आने से maintain नहीं होती थी, उससे पहले से maintain होती थी. और हम IBA की फीस ऊपर रखते थे, लेकिन हर तीसरे बच्चे को कोई ना कोई फाइनेंशियल असिस्टेंस देते थे और उसमें ये लिखा हुआ है कि अगर कोई टेस्ट क्लियर कर लेगा तो फाइनेंस के बेसिस पे उसको एडमिशन डिक्लाइन नहीं होगा. क्वालिटी, इंक्लूसिविटी एंड ग्रोथ इज अ माइंडसेट. मेरी हम्बल सबमिशन ये है कि जिस चक्रव्यूह में HEC खुद फंसा हुआ है वो ग्रोथ माइंडसेट को आने नहीं देता. दिस इज माय ओनली सबमिशन एंड आई रिमेन ग्रेटफुल टू द सपोर्ट एट लीस्ट HEC Sindh has provided to my university. I had a comparatively new university. I stand grateful to it. There has been hand holding, there's been mentoring. But I understand कि वो भी फंसे हुए हैं ना उस चक्रव्यूह में और वो उससे फिर बाहर नहीं निकल पाते. Thank you.
So I would like, because so much discussion was around HEC, to allow Dr. Rafi to say a few words before I go to the audience.
Thank you very much. I'll have a few things that I have to say, rather clarifications. First of all, I disagree with what Dr. Huma has said, that funding is only given to the public sector universities. Yes. Why? Because public sector universities subsidize the students. For example, medical universities only charge in the public sector. Recently, they have increased the fee from 30,000 per year to 48,000 per year this year. Whereas a private sector is charging from 25 lakh to 40 lakhs per year. So somebody has to pay, and that is where the government comes in to subsidize, because even today it is costing us around 10 lakh rupees in a public sector university, in a medical university, because I have been a vice chancellor, know how much it costs. So 10 लाख रुपए बच्चे में खर्च होता है, हुकूमत से 48,000 दे रही है. कोई तो सब्सिडाइज करेगा, हुकूमत देगी. अगर हुकूमत नहीं देती, कितने बच्चे हैं जो 40 लाख और 25 लाख रुपए दे के काबिल बच्चे जा सकते हैं प्राइवेट में? कुछ नहीं जाएंगे. They will all be, जो हमारी क्रीम है वो सब रह जाएगी, और वो लोग जिनके माँ बाप का पैसा है सिर्फ वही बच्चे डॉक्टर बन सकते हैं. तो पहली बात तो ये कि आपको ये कहना कि क्यों गवर्नमेंट देती है, सब्सिडाइज करती है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल मेडिकल छोड़ दें, फार्मेसी, सबसे बड़ा पुराना इंस्टीट्यूट फार्मेसी का कराची यूनिवर्सिटी में पूरे सेमेस्टर की फीस 13,000 रुपए. कोई एक प्राइवेट सेक्टर बता दे जो 1.5 लाख रुपए से कम लेता हूँ. एंड दे आर चार्जिंग ओनली 13,000 पर सेमेस्टर फॉर अ फार्मेसी. दैट इज द बिगेस्ट फार्मेसी एंड द ओल्डेस्ट फार्मेसी इंस्टीट्यूट इन पाकिस्तान. Who is paying? The government is paying. That is why the money is only given to the public sector, because वरना ये जो बेचारे गरीबों के बच्चे हैं या मिडिल क्लास के बच्चे कहीं भी नहीं पढ़ सकते. आप मुझे खुद बताएं, जो मैडम के माइट का है, या आप बताएं ZABIST वाले, क्या आपके पास एक ड्राइवर का बच्चा मेरिट पर आ सकता है पढ़ने के लिए? नहीं आ सकता. 2, 4, 6, 10 को आप दे देंगे स्कॉलरशिप. मैं 2, 4, 6, 10 को आप दे देंगे. क्या 100% बच्चे? मैं आपको बताता हूँ, क्योंकि मैं वहाँ था वाइस चांसलर 10 साल जिना मेडिकल यूनिवर्सिटी में. 87% हमारे पास लड़कियाँ और 90% बच्चे वो हैं जो रिक्शा में, ये बच्चे उनके अब्बा जो हैं पेरेंट्स जो हैं उनको मोटरसाइकिल पर छोड़ने आते हैं. कौन अफोर्ड कर सकता है इस तालीम को? अगर ये ख़त्म हो जाए गवर्नमेंट की सब्सिडी, और वो हम कहें जी हाँ आपको, मैं नहीं कह रहा आप गलत कह रहे हैं, ठीक है, यू आर देयर टू गिव गुड एजुकेशन, एट द सेम टाइम यू आर देयर टू मेक मनी. Government is not making any money. They are only spending money. They are not getting money. एक तो ये जवाब है. दूसरा एक सवाल ये था कि जनाब पब्लिक सेक्टर के लिए मुकादी साहब ने कहा कि हमारे पास जब आते हैं तो सिर्फ पब्लिक सेक्टर के वाइस चांसलर. जी नहीं, मैडम सामने बैठी हैं 4-5 यूनिवर्सिटियों में, तो हम मैडम को लेकर जो प्राइवेट सेक्टर को रिप्रेजेंट करती हैं. उमा बैठी है, उनको हम लेकर के रिप्रेजेंट करती है. तालिब करीम को हम लेकर के वो रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं. उसके अलावा क्या कहते हैं तारिक सुमरो है, उनको हम लेकर के. सो इट्स नॉट कि हम कोई पर्टिकुलरली सिर्फ उनको ले जाते हैं प्राइवेट सेक्टर में, पब्लिक वालों को, कि उनको जाके उन पर सख्ती करी. मैडम खुद ने जाके IBA के अंदर जो है अकबर जैदी साहब को जो जिस तरह से किया था, आई विल नॉट टेक एनीथिंग. सो इट इज़ नॉट दिस, इक्वली बैलेंस्ड है. पब्लिक और प्राइवेट सेक्टर दोनों जाते हैं. खुद हुमा चाहती है और जाके 10 सवाल पूछती हैं, कभी किसी ने मना नहीं किया, और फिर आप कहते हैं कि जी हमें कोई ले नहीं जाता, और किस तरह से ले जाए. तीसरा आखिरी सवाल, आखिर में कहूँगा, आपने कहा रेगुलेटरी बॉडीज क्यों है? देखिए हमारा मुल्क जो है ना, अगर यहाँ कोई रेगुलेटरी बॉडी ना हो ना, तो खुदा की कसम ऐसा इंतशार फैल जाए यूनिवर्सिटियों में कि कोई पढ़ाने वाला ना हो. कोई आपने कहा कि जी हमसे कहते हैं ऑरिक रखो, हमसे कहते हैं QEC रखो. ऑरिक एंड QEC आर द बेसिस टुडे ऑफ एनी एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूशन. अगर आपके पास क्वालिटी एश्योरेंस नहीं है, और दे आर स्पेशलाइज्ड फील्ड. आप उर्दू के प्रोफेसर को ऑरिक के हेड नहीं बना सकते. अगर आप कहते हैं जी हमारा फलां प्रोफेसर उर्दू का जो, ही इज नॉट हेड ऑफ द ऑरिक, यू आर जस्ट पुटिंग अ नेम, यू आर नॉट डूइंग एनीथिंग. ऑरिक एंड QEC are 2 basic things today in a university. اور میں آپ کو یہ بتا دوں کہ اتنی ریگولیشن کے باوجود میں ایگری کرتا ہوں اوور ریگولیشن ہوگی, ہم اسے ختم کر رہے ہیں. ہم نے یہ کیا ہے کہ جی HEC فیڈرل اور سندھ ایک ہی وہ کرے گی, ریگولیٹری باڈیز کم ہو جائے. میں آپ کو 2 مثالیں دیتا ہوں, آپ یقین کیجئے. دیر از اے یونیورسٹی ان کر ایک کہہ دوں, ایک یونیورسٹی ہے, ریگولیشن اتنے سخت ہیں, شام کو وہاں پر شلواری کی کڑھائی بکتی ہے. وہاں کوئی ٹیچر نہیں ہے, بچے انرولڈ ہوتے ہیں, پرائیویٹ ہے کراچی میں, انرولڈ ہوتے ہیں بچے, 2 سال کے بعد جا کے ڈگری لے لیتے, پیسے دے کے, ڈگری بک رہی ہے پرائیویٹ میں. تو دیکھیں اگر ریگولیشن نہیں ہوگی ڈگریاں بکیں گی. یہ ریگولیشن جھوٹی موٹی چھوٹی بہت جو بھی ہے, اس نے کسی حد تک جو ہے عزت رکھی ہوئی ڈگریوں کی, ورنہ کوئی ڈگری نہیں ہوتی. تھینک یو ویری مچ.
I think I'll have to go to the audience.
I would like
not to give them.
میں جواب دوں گا.
جب آپ کے سوال
That is very important.
کنٹینیو رہے گا سر, اس کا کوئی اینڈ نہیں.
مسنٹرپریٹیشن ہے, تھوڑا سا 1 منٹ دے دیں مجھے. آئی تھنک ود ڈیو ریسپیکٹ ٹو طارق رفیع صاحب, انہوں نے فرمایا کہ جی پرائیویٹ یونیورسٹی, میں نے کبھی نہیں کہا. میں نے کہا جب پالیسی بن رہی تھی 2003 میں, اس کے فرسٹ چیئرمین جو تھا صاحب تھے, ان کی پرائرٹیز ڈفرینٹ تھی. اس وقت انہوں نے جو پالیسی ڈاکومنٹ بنایا تھا اس میں سارے پبلک سیکٹر یونیورسٹی کے وائس چانسلر تھے اور 2-3 بیوروکریٹ تھے. ابھی کی میں بات نہیں کر رہا, نہیں 1 سیکنڈ پلیز. اور دوسرا آپ نے فرمایا کہ پبلک سیکٹر کو فنڈ دینا اس لیے ضروری ہے کہ فیس کم رکھیں. سر میں آپ کو گارنٹی دیتا ہوں وہی فنڈنگ آپ ہمیں دیں, میں بھی فیس وہی رکھوں گا جو پبلک سیکٹر کی ہوتی ہے.
چلیں, تھینک یو. لیٹس گو ٹو دا آڈینس. آئی تھنک these are matters of public concern. There may be very many people here who would like to say something, and so I would like to open it. Nair sahab, aap shuru karein bilkul. Phir I would love to hear the views of the students. Agar aapke paas sawalat ho to hum aapke paas aate hain. My request will be it should be a question. یہ بڑا ایزیلی ہم اس کو پھر موو کر جاتے ہیں ایک اور سیشن میں. تو کویسچن ایز پریسائز ایز پاسبل. سر,
میں پبلک سیکٹر یونیورسٹی سے ریٹائر ہو کے بھی 20 سال مجھے ہو گئے, تو مجھے نہیں معلوم کہ پرائیویٹ سیکٹر میں ایکچولی صورتحال کیا ہے. لیکن مجھے اس کا احساس یہ ہوتا ہے کہ جب سے یونیورسٹیز کا پرولیفریشن ہوا ہے تب سے بڑی ڈائلیوشن ہوئی ہے, اسٹینڈرڈس جو ہیں وہ کم ہوئے ہیں, اور اس کا اثر جو ہے ان کے گریجویٹس کے اوپر ہے. اب میں آپ سے اس کا سوال پوچھنا چاہتا ہوں کہ یہ یونیورسٹیاں جو اتنی کھلی ہیں وہاں پہ ایک آبزرویشن ہے کہ اس کے لڑکے جن کو BA کی ڈگری ملی ہے وہ سڑکوں پہ گاڑیاں دھو رہے ہیں, اس سے زیادہ ان کی حیثیت نہیں کوئی جاب مل سکے. تو کیا اثر ہوگا اس کا ان نوجوانوں پہ جو ڈگریاں لے کر امنگیں لے کر مارکیٹ میں آئے ہیں کہ ہم تو اب گریجویٹ ہو گئے ہیں.
سو اس کو سر اگر ہم ریفریز کریں, دا مور یونیورسٹیز دا گریٹر دا ایکسپیکٹیشنز, اینڈ آر وی ایبل ٹو دین میٹ دوز ایکسپیکٹیشنز. آپ پہلے دینا چاہیں گے, وہاں چلتے ہیں پھر آپ کے پاس.
ایجوکیشن کو تو آپ نہیں کہہ سکتے کہ بچوں کو پڑھاؤ نہیں, پڑھنا تو لازمی ہے, ایجوکیشن از اے مسٹ. مسئلہ یہ ہے کہ آپ کے ملک کی اکانومی پچھلے 25-30 سال میں برباد ہوئی ہے, تو آپ پر جاب اپرچونیٹیز ختم ہو گئی ہیں. آپ BA کی بات کریں یا MBA سے لے کے ڈاکٹر تک سڑکوں پہ پھر رہے ہیں کیونکہ اکانومی نہیں ہے. آپ کی اکانومی اینڈ ایجوکیشن آر لنک ٹوگیدر. تو جب تک آپ کی اکانومی اگر اکانومی بہتر ہوتی ہے, فلرش کرتی ہے, تو بچوں کو نوکریاں ملتی. آج بچے باہر کیوں جا رہے ہیں؟ اسی لیے کہ باہر جائیں گے نہیں تو نوکری پاکستان میں نہیں. نوکری کیوں نہیں؟ کیونکہ جاب نہیں ہے. جاب کیوں نہیں؟ کاروبار نہیں ہے. تو یہ سب انٹرلنکڈ ہے. 25-30 سال کا یہ کوئی ایک دن کا ملبہ نہیں ہے, اور یہ سب کچھ ہے. اور اس کی وجہ سے ہم کہیں کہ بچوں کا BA کرانا چھوڑ دو یا بچوں کا MBA کرانا چھوڑ دو, پھر تو تعلیم ہی ختم ہو جائے گی کیونکہ ہم جاب نہیں دے سکتے. آئی ڈونٹ تھنک دیٹ ول بی سفائنگ.
Thank you. I think it's a very interesting question. We have seen in the last times there is as you mentioned, but see throughout the world, if you look, there is a privilege to be a student of a university. ہمارے یہاں ہم سب نے یہ سوچ لیا ہے, whether these are the parents or the society, that everybody has to go to the university. That is the mindset which we have to change. If I talk about a UK, you know, if you want to go to the university, whether it's a public sector or a private sector, you have to do a lot on your own, being yourself as a student. You have to get loan, you have to, cross a lot of barriers to enter into the university. تو ایک تو یہ ہو گیا ہے کہ ہم نے پیرنٹس نے بھی بڑا آسان سمجھ لیا ہے, یہ بچہ ادھر بیٹھا ہوا ہے اس کو یونیورسٹی بھیج دو. تو نمبر 1 is that. Number 2, the prime reason of your question is the scenario of primary and the secondary education. Whether it's a public sector or a private sector, both. Private sector کے اپنے ایشوز ہیں, public sector کے اپنے ایشوز ہیں. But I think primary education, secondary education, higher secondary education, وہ جو colleges ہیں ہمارے, ان سب کو دیکھنا ہے. ہم یونیورسٹی سے ایکسپیکٹ کیا جاتا ہے کہ بچہ معذرت سے کہ کلاس 1 کے بعد وہ سیدھا یونیورسٹی میں آ گیا ہے. حالانکہ وہ بہت اچھی عمر گزار کے یونیورسٹی میں پہنچا ہے. And being a professor since last, being a professor since last 25 years as a professor, میں نے اپنی زندگی میں آج بھی میں کہتا ہوں 21ویں صدی میں کہ اگر میں نے جو بھی میرے اسٹوڈنٹ جن کو میں نے دیکھا پڑھتے ہوئے جنہوں نے صحیح ٹائم پہ اپنی چیزیں کی, آج تک میں نے کسی اپنے اس اسٹوڈنٹ کو گاڑی دھوتے ہوئے نہیں دیکھا.
Thank you very much. Let's see if there are anybody else who has a question from the. جعفر صاحب کے پاس بھی کویشچن ہے, لیکن میں پہلے پیچھے چاہ رہا تھا کہ اگر ایک کویشچن ہے تو کسی اسٹوڈنٹ کے پاس. جی وہاں پر ایک آپ کو نظر آ رہا ہے, پھر سر میں آپ کے پاس آتا ہوں. ایک وہ مائک پہ لے لیں تاکہ ہم سب سن سکیں. مائک لے لیں.
السلام علیکم سر.
جی جی
السلام علیکم سر. سر میرا یہ کہ HEC کا جو اصل میں جو پالیسی ہے نا, اس کو ہے نا ہمیں جو ہے نا اسٹینڈرڈ کے حساب سے چلنا چاہیے. جیسے انٹرنیشنل لیول پہ نا ہمیں اس حساب سے نا امینڈمنٹ کرنی چاہیے. جیسے ہے نا او لیول اے لیول جیسے ہے نا اسکولس میں ہوتا ہے اسٹینڈرڈ, اسی طرح سے HEC کو ہے نا اس میں بھی امینڈمنٹ ہونی چاہیے اور اسی انٹرنیشنل اسٹینڈرڈ کے حساب سے پالیسی کرنی چاہیے. تو گورنمنٹ سیکٹر جب ہم امپروو کریں گے HEC کے اسٹینڈرڈ کے حساب سے, تو پرائیویٹ سیکٹر جو ہے نا وہ خود بخود وہ اس کمپٹیشن کے حساب سے ڈاؤن ہو جائے گا. تو پرائیویٹ سیکٹر کی حساب سے جو اس کی جو ہے نا کوالٹیز ہے تو وہ ہم گورنمنٹ سیکٹر میں بھی امپلیمنٹ کریں گے. تو اس حساب سے پرائیویٹ سیکٹر جو ہے نا اس حساب سے نا وہ جو بزنس بھی کر رہی ہے, ایک اسٹینڈرڈ بھی ہے, ایک بزنس بھی کر رہی ہے پرائیویٹ سیکٹر, تو وہ جو ہے نا بزنس والے
بالکل ٹھیک ہے, بالکل ٹھیک ہے. آئی تھنک وی ول ٹیک دس ایز اے سجیشن رادر دین کویسچن, اینڈ آئی ول گو ٹو جعفر صاحب کہ ان کے پاس اگر کوئی کویسچن ہو تو مائک دے دیں. ہاں وہ جعفر صاحب کی. ہاں
پنجوانی صاحب میرا تو سوال آپ سے ہے. جی اتنی گلیکسی آپ نے بٹھائی یہاں پہ اور صرف ایڈمنسٹریشن کی اور فائنینسز کی باتیں ہو رہی ہیں. کوئی سوال آپ کو کوالٹی آف ایجوکیشن کے اوپر بھی کرنا چاہیے تھا کہ ہماری یونیورسٹیاں پڑھا کیا رہی ہیں اور جو کورسز پڑھاتے ہیں ان کی امپروومنٹ کا کیا طریقہ ہے. اور دیکھیں میں بھی پڑھاتا ہوں, میرے اسٹوڈنٹس مجھے بتاتے ہیں کہ سر ہمارا فلاں کورس جو ہے وہ نا آبسلیٹ ہو گیا. تو میں کہتا ہوں آپ کو کیسے پتا؟ کہ سر ہمیں نیٹ پہ ساری دنیا کے کورسز مل رہے ہیں کہ انڈیا میں IT میں کیا پڑھاتے ہیں, برطانیہ میں کیا پڑھاتے ہیں, فرانس میں کیا. تو our اسٹوڈنٹس are more knowledgeable about what is being taught in the world. تو تھوڑا سا آپ ہمیں پینل سے یہ پوچھ کے بتائیں کہ پاکستان کی یونیورسٹیوں کے جو کورسز ہیں ان کے امپروومنٹ کے بارے میں ان کا لیول آف سیٹسفیکشن کیا ہے.
آئی تھنک وی شوڈ ٹیک دس کویسچن, دس از اے گڈ کویسچن. جی دو یہ آئی تھنک سبھی رسپونڈ کر دیں ایک ایک بات. ایک جی وہاں سے شروع کرتے ہیں.
اوکے میں ذرا بیسک بات کرنا چاہ رہا تھا, بحث ہو رہی تھی. بیسک سوال یہ ہے کہ ایجوکیشن از یور مائنڈ از اے بیسک فنڈامنٹل رائٹ. تو اس پر بحث مباحثہ کس بات کا ہے صاحب کہ پڑھاؤ نہ پڑھاؤ, پرائیویٹ میں پڑھاؤ وہاں پڑھاؤ, پڑھنا تو سب کو ہے اور کوالٹی ایجوکیشن لینی ہے, پبلک ہو یا پرائیویٹ ہو. وہ اور بات ہے کہ سرکار اپنے اس فرض سے الگ ہو گئی ہے, ورنہ ہر اسٹوڈنٹ کا, ہر بچے کا حق حاصل ہے کہ وہ سرکار اس کو تعلیم دے. اب یہاں چیئرمین صاحب نے بڑی صحیح بات بولی کہ جو بھی پرائیویٹ سب کو داخلہ نہیں مل سکتا ہے, بڑی اگر سب کو داخلہ مل جائے بہت خوشی کی بات ہے, وائی ناٹ, دس از مائی فنڈامنٹل رائٹ. تو لیکن اگر جو آ رہا ہے اس کو سبسیڈائز کر رہے ہیں, کہاں سے سبسیڈائز کر رہے ہیں؟ ٹیکس پیئر منی سے کر رہے ہیں. لیکن دوسری طرف جو انڈسٹری ہے پرائیویٹ سیکٹر, اس کی ذرا مسئلہ ادھر بھی ہے. اور دونوں بات میں سے ایک بات ہے کہ کوالٹی ایجوکیشن کا فقدان ادھر بھی ہے اور ادھر بھی.
سر اگر ایک دو کامنٹ جعفر صاحب کے سوال پہ اگر آپ آ جائیں.
جعفر صاحب نے بالکل صحیح فرمایا. دیکھیں جی, ہائر ایجوکیشن کمیشن نے تو اپنی پالیسیز میں یہ ڈیفائن کر دیا ہے کہ آپ اپنے کریکولم ریگولر انٹرول پہ ریویو کیجئے. اور پاکستان میں آج کی تاریخ میں 269 یونیورسٹیز ایگزسٹ کر رہی ہیں. اس میں بہت ساری یونیورسٹیز ہیں جو اپنے کریکولم کو ریگولر انٹرول پہ ریویو کرتی ہیں. ساتھ میں یہ بھی کہا گیا کہ انڈسٹریل ایڈوائزری بورڈز کی تشکیل بھی دیجئے جن یونیورسٹیز میں انڈسٹریل ایڈوائزری بورڈ ہیں جس میں اکیڈمیا اور انڈسٹری کے ایکسپرٹس بیٹھتے ہیں, کریکولم کو ہر 1 سال 2 سال پہ ریویو کیا جاتا ہے, اور دونوں سائڈ پہ پبلک سیکٹر پہ بھی اور پرائیویٹ سیکٹر پہ بھی بہت ساری یونیورسٹیوں نے اس طرح سے کریکولم کو ریویو کیا, اور یقین جانیے کہ ان کے بچے ابھی فائنل ایئر میں ہوتے ہیں کہ وہ نیشنلی اور انٹرنیشنلی آلریڈی ہائر آج بھی ہو رہے ہیں. جتنی بھی مارکیٹ میں اوور سیچوریشن ہو جائے, جو قابل بچہ ہے وہ اپنی جگہ آج بھی بنا رہا ہے. میرا خیال ہے کہ اب یہ ذمہ داری یونیورسٹیز پہ, وائس چانسلرز پہ اور یونیورسٹی کی مینجمنٹ پہ آتی ہے کہ وہ اپنے اسٹیچوٹری باڈیز کی میٹنگز کی ریگولیرٹی کریں, بجائے اس کے کہ سپریم کورٹ کا آرڈر آئے اور اس میں وائس چانسلر کو پابند کیا جائے کہ آپ اپنی اسٹیچوٹری باڈیز کی ریگولیرٹی کیجئے. اب اس میں کہنے کی ضرورت نہیں ہے. دوسرا یہ ہے کہ جو بھی کریکولم ہے, الحمدللہ آج بھی میں ایک پبلک سیکٹر یونیورسٹی کو ریپریزنٹ کر رہا ہوں, سکھر IBA یونیورسٹی. ہم نے پاکستان کی ہسٹری میں اس صوبے سے, سندھ صوبے میں جب سے یہ ملک بنا ہے 1947, AACSB جو کہ ایک انٹرنیشنل ایکریڈیشن ہے, بلائنڈ ریویو ہوتا ہے, وہ سندھ سے واحد یونیورسٹی ہے جس نے وہ ایکریڈیشن حاصل کی. مگر ہوں میں پھر بھی پبلک سیکٹر یونیورسٹی. ٹائمز ہائر ایجوکیشن 2025 ورلڈ رینکنگ آف دا یونیورسٹیز میں 601 to 800 بریکٹ میں سکھر IBA یونیورسٹی آ گئی. اس سے پہلے سندھ کی تو کوئی یونیورسٹی پبلک لے لیجئے یا پرائیویٹ لے لیجئے نہیں آئی. تو بات یہ ہے کہ وائس چانسلرز اور ان کی ٹیم کا فوکس ون سینٹرک ہونا چاہیے. پالیسیز HEC ایک ہی بنائے گی. ہمارے ساتھ یہ ہے کہ پاکستان ایک بہت بڑا ملک ہے جس میں بلوچستان ہے, جہاں پر ٹرائبل سسٹم ہے, جہاں پر جغرافیکل لوکیشن آپ کی پاپولیشن اسکیٹرڈ ہے. ایک یونین کاؤنسل 35 کلومیٹر پہ ہے, اس کو کمپیئر کر لیتے ہیں. اس کو اگر کراچی سے کمپیئر کرتا ہوں تو 500 میٹر پہ ایک یونین کاؤنسل ختم ہو جاتی ہے. تو پالیسیز تو ایک بنیں گی فیڈرل لیول پہ. اب وہ پالیسیز میں تضاد ہو سکتا ہے, مگر یونیورسٹیز کو اتنی آٹونامی ہے کہ اس منیمم اسٹینڈرڈ سے اوپر جتنا جانا چاہے انہوں نے تو نہیں روکا HEC نے.
جی, thank you. What I would now request is if each member just takes 1.5 minute for their concluding thought or anything you want to respond, so that وہاں سے شروع کرتے ہیں. سر آپ اگر دیں تو 1-1.5 منٹ کے اندر اپنے تھاٹ کو کمپلیٹ کریں, اور جو کسی چیز کو رسپونڈ کرنا چاہے وہ کریں یا لاسٹ تھاٹ دیں.
میں سمجھتا ہوں کیونکہ آخر میں اس کو بند کرنا ہے, وہ تو آج کل میں نے ایک آرٹیکل لکھ رہا تھا, میں نے اس میں ایک ٹیمپ انٹروڈیوس کیا ہے. تو ٹیمپ کو امپلائی کرنا ہے. سو T is for your transparency and your temperament. Your E is for the emotion and esteem. Or your aim is for your maturity. And your P is for pace and peace. تو میرے خیال میں اس معاشرے میں جس میں اس وقت ہم 21ویں صدی میں ہیں, ہر سوشل میڈیا کو ہم کیچ کر رہے ہیں, ہر نیگیٹو چیز کو ہم بہت زیادہ خوشی سے کیچ کر رہے ہیں. ہمیں پازیٹیو ہونا چاہیے. میرا جو PhD کا بیک گراؤنڈ تھا اس میں تھا کہ ہاؤ ٹو ڈیسیپیٹ دا انرجی. سو دا ڈیسیپیشن آف انرجی از ویری امپورٹنٹ. ناؤ ویدر یو ڈو اٹ ان نیگیٹو اور پازیٹیو, آئی تھنک وی آل نیڈ. یہ جو یوتھ ہے جو پاکستان کا, جس کو میں نے کسی زمانے میں انٹروڈیوس کیا ایز اے یوتھ انرجی along with the renewable, all resources of renewable energy. So we shall take care of this youth. Thank you very much.
کہاں پبلش کیا اپنا آرٹیکل, آپ نے کہاں پبلش کیا؟
I did this lecture in a rector's conference.
Okay.
In the Czech Republic.
Great, thank you. Nida.
Yeah, I just want to respond to the question about what's being taught, and rather than just thinking about the administration and the funding, which somehow we didn't have a lot of time. Itne issues hain, to hum kin issues pe baat kar sakte hain, itne sare hain. Lekin I think again it's linked. I do think that our higher education system is in a crisis. I'm sorry, मैं negative बात कर रही हूँ, लेकिन it's hoping for the positive, क्योंकि अगर हम negative चीज़ों पे बात नहीं करेंगे तो कभी positive outcome नहीं होगा. So I, as a sociology professor, deal with a lot of students, PhD students from public sector universities across Pakistan, and I am honestly often extremely shocked at the lack of training that's being given to PhD students who are at the end of their PhDs, and abhi tak unke supervisors ne unko basic research skills nahi sikhayi hain in terms of, and again I'm in the social sciences, so reading, writing, critical thinking, citations ke bare mein nahi pata hota, evidence kis tarah se present karna ye pata nahi, but basic cheezein jo hum log first year undergraduate students ko padhate hain, And so, again, I'm not blaming individual professors, but I do think it's a structural problem and it's a crisis. And I think we should treat it as one.
I think एक पूरा सेशन आई थिंक आपकी क्वेश्चन पर होने की जरूरत है. जी सर.
आई एम वेरी थैंकफुल टू जाफर साहब कि उन्होंने मॉडरेटर को सही किया, सही डायरेक्शन में लगा दिया. यही क्वेश्चन सबसे पहले होना चाहिए था. जाफर साहब, द प्रॉब्लम इज, एंड आई एम एड्रेसिंग द कोर इशू बिकॉज आई एम इन एकेडमिक्स फॉर 43 years, राइट. जो कोर इशू है वो ये है कि हमारा जो इंटर से बच्चा आ रहा है, दैट इज गार्बेज. आई एम सॉरी टू यूज द वर्ड गार्बेज इन. जब गार्बेज इन होगा, गार्बेज आउट होगा. एक जमाना था, डीजे साइंस कॉलेज की बात की गई, आई वॉज ऑल्सो इन द डीजे साइंस कॉलेज. उस जमाने में कॉलेज लेवल पे इतनी क्वालिटी मेंटेन होती थी कि व्हेन वी इंटर इनटू द बी डिग्री प्रोग्राम्स तो हमारे लिए बड़ा इजी होता था. आज प्रॉब्लम ये है कि जिस प्रोग्राम में भी अप्लाई करें, अगर वो ए लेवल से आ रहा है तो उसका एक अलग होता है इनका लेवल, और इंटरमीडिएट का लेवल ये है कि 90%, 89%, इन्हें 80 से कम बातें नहीं होती. बट व्हेन यू आस्क अ वेरी बेसिक क्वेश्चन इन द इंटरव्यू, वो फेल हो जाते हैं. इसलिए मैंने अपनी यूनिवर्सिटी में जो इंटर के रिजल्ट हैं या ए लेवल के, इनके सिर्फ 20% मैंने वेटेज दिया है. बाकी 50% मैंने वेटेज दिया है एडमिशन टेस्ट को, और 30% वेटेज दिया मैंने इंटरव्यू को. उससे हम मेरिट बनाते हैं. तो आपका जो सवाल था ना, वो ये था कि जी मेरे हिसाब से हायर एजुकेशन कमीशन से पहले, बहुत पहले पाकिस्तान कंट्री लेवल पर ये सोचने की जरूरत थी कि लोअर लेवल पे कोई कमीशन बनाया जाए जहाँ स्कूल और कॉलेजेस की मॉनिटरिंग हो. क्योंकि जब तक उसको आप ट्रीट में करेंगे, आप जितना भी कोर्स को लेकर हम इम्प्रूव कर दें, जितना एडवांस कर दें, जितना दुनिया के साथ चलें, वो जब बच्चे को समझ में ही कुछ नहीं आएगा, उसकी बेसिक उतनी ब्रॉटअप नहीं हुआ, सो हाउ दे कैन डाइजेस्ट दोस काइंड ऑफ स्टफ्स.
थैंक यू सर. थैंक यू. हुमा.
I'm going to be very quick about this. I think basic ethos of education anywhere in the world is to create upward social mobility, equity in the society. So education is supposed to be an equalizer. The way education functions in Pakistan, it creates an elite bubble and it creates the average awam. So the elite capture is more evident in our education than anywhere else in the world. Anywhere else.
Thank you. I would like to add that education, obviously, a quality education is a basic fundamental right. And quality education with higher education is a must. Regulatory body like federal HEC may be a nice thing, लेकिन ना हो तो बहुत अच्छा है.
सर.
I think education, चाहे वो private sector की हो, public sector की हो, they all have a role to play, both public and private sector. There is no point कि हम उसके blame game करें कि जी ये अच्छा है या वो अच्छा है. Both of them are playing their own role, and different spheres I should say. प्राइवेट सेक्टर जिन बच्चों को कैटर करता है, प्राइवेट पब्लिक सेक्टर उससे बिल्कुल डिफरेंट लोगों को कैटर करता है. लेकिन मकसद दोनों का एक ये कि इस मुल्क को तालीम दी जाए, बच्चों को एजुकेट किया जाए, एंड दैट इज़ द बेसिक पर्पस. व्हाई वी आर लैगिंग बिहाइंड इन द वर्ल्ड, क्योंकि हमारे जो बच्चे हैं, हमारे जो पढ़े लिखे लोग हैं, उनकी तादाद बहुत कम है, और जो पढ़े लिखे हैं भी वो उस लेवल के पढ़े लिखे नहीं जो कि होने चाहिए. सो क्वालिटी ऑफ एजुकेशन इज़ नॉट देयर, एजुकेटेड यूथ इज़ नॉट देयर. और बात सबसे बड़ी यही है कि जो डिसइक्वालिटी है और वो जो इक्वालिटी है वो नहीं है. हमारे यहाँ सबसे बड़ा मसला ये है कि एक जैसे कि हुमा ने कहा, डू एग्री, कि एक वो लोग हैं जो कि एलीट क्लास में शुमार होते हैं, और एक वो लोग हैं जो कि एवरेज लोग हैं या उससे भी नीचे के. और ये गैप जो है वाइड होता जा रहा है, मिडिल क्लास ख़त्म होती जा रही है, अमीर अमीर तर होता जा रहा है, गरीब गरीब तर होता जा रहा है. इसके असरात खाली एजुकेशन नहीं है, मैं आप लोगों से कहूँगा हर सोसाइटी के सेगमेंट पे इसके असरात हैं. हम खाली एजुकेशन को ब्लेम ना करें कि तालीम ख़राब होगी. आप मुझे कोई एक वो बता दें सेगमेंट इस मुल्क के अंदर जो 25 साल के अंदर बेहतर हुआ.
ग्रेट, थैंक यू वेरी मच. आई थिंक वी हैड अब सब वो थैंक यू वेरी मच. आई थिंक दो चीज़ें जो मुझे बहुत क्लियर नज़र आ रही है कि it is the right of these young people here and everywhere to get good education, and it is our responsibility to provide it, And I think this right has to be taken seriously. And I would request कि perhaps हम मिलके या किसी तरह higher education के issue पे, जिसमें मुझे लग रहा है कि there are oases of good quality, but there is an ocean of crisis. उस पर concentrate ये 2 दिन जैसे हमने और चीज़ों पे किया और बहुत ही डिटेल के साथ हम करें. And we should also hope कि जो हमारे powers to be हैं वो realize करें कि हमारी प्रायोरिटीज़ कहाँ होनी चाहिए, फाइनेंशियल प्रायोरिटीज़ और मुल्क में इस्तेकाम और बहुत सारी चीज़ों की ज़रूरी है. एंड आई वांट टू गो बैक कि आई थिंक फ्रीडम ऑफ स्पीच इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, पर्टिकुलरली अगर ह्यूमैनिटीज़ एंड सोशल साइंस में हमें एजुकेशन को इम्प्रूव करना है. और वो आई थिंक उस पर भी हम ज़्यादा तवज्जो नहीं देते. मैं खुद अपनी क्लासेस में भी देखता हूँ, बच्चे भी, प्रोफेसर्स भी बहुत सारी चीज़ें बोलते में भी डरते हैं. And I don't think that is a good thing for any country in any education system. Thank you very much, sir and madam, for this session. Thank you very much.
Make a few closing remarks. We've had a very eminent panel here, which is the last panel of the 2-day conference. Very thought-provoking, different perspectives, different views, and exceedingly important for the higher education community to listen to the leaders of the various institutions in Sindh. I want to particularly thank the Sindh Chairman, Sindh Higher Education Commission Chairman, Dr. Tariq Rafi Saab, and each and every one of my colleagues sitting on the stage who represent some of the premier universities of Pakistan. Multiple issues, I will not go into them. You've heard a very good discussion, and I do hope that ZABIST will continue to have, and we do plan to have some round tables to take this process forward and not just leave it for some national level big convention or a rector's conference, so that we can have a smaller group maybe talking a little bit more about the deep crisis that does exist in many of our education institutions, right from the schooling level to the university level. I want to just conclude by, and excuse me for my very bad throat, thanking Dr. Riaz Sheikh, the Dean of Social Sciences, and Dr. Najmul Nisa, the head of the Education Department, and thanking Dr. Altaf Muqati Sahab as Vice President Academics for giving guidance and organizing this wonderful event for the last 2 days. We are not a large university, but I think that we have pulled together some exceptionally good discussions on the panels in the last 2 days. This is a conference on research in education and social sciences, and it's a very vast area. So it was also difficult deciding what should be the topic of it. And I think we went for a larger macro topic, which is inclusion and sustainability. So it applies across the economy, it applies across institutions, it applies across national effort, and certainly there is a political economy behind it all. So many of these issues have been addressed. We also, I would like to thank each and every one of our partners who are listed right here on the stage. The Indus Resource Center, Sadika Salahuddin Sahiba herself was here. Idara Taaleem Agahi, Dr. Bela Raza Jamil was here. We've had the Sindh Education Foundation Director, we've had STEDA, and we've had the Government Commission, the Sindh Higher Education Commission, also support us in this, and I'm most grateful for that. Over the last 2 days, several panels, including 2 or 3 very, very good sessions on the issues around schooling, transforming schools, and the very, very deep-rooted public sector and private sector issues on quality, access, enrollment, and public management policy on the schools. And we also have talked about educational qualifications for education and how contradictory some things are in the education sector, and the shortage of several other issues around it. In addition to that, we had several interesting discussions. Actually, the panel before yourself was one in which there were 2 major economists, Mr. Shabbar Zaidi and Sayyid Asad Ali Shah, and they talked about, is Pakistan's economy on a track for sustainability? Can there be sustainability in addressing any of the issues in Pakistan if the economy is not on track? And that was a very, very heated discussion and a set of views. which looked at the larger macro picture of Pakistan in terms of its production, industry, exports, etc., and how to bring Pakistan to a financially sustainable position. And I think there was general agreement that there's a financial crisis in Pakistan. So we are not able to finance education or health or any of the other things sufficiently. We also had sessions on literature, on teen parenting, and several other social issues. But I want to also inform my colleagues, particularly sitting here, that we've had several people involved in this conference from overseas. And I'd like to just mention very quickly from the Royal Holloway College, from the University of London, from the University of Cambridge, from the Atma Jaya Catholic University of Indonesia, Northwest University, South Africa, University of Iowa, USA. We also had the eminent Professor Harbans Mukhia, who was the former Vice Chancellor of Jawaharlal Nehru University, Delhi. And he spoke very well on this whole issue of inclusion and exclusion and binary communities, which are a legacy of colonialism. From LUMS, we are happy to see Nida Kirmani here. Thank you very much. We also have the New School of English. Dr. Asif is here from Sakkar IBA, and Dr. Nayyar is here from Islamabad. Dr. Ishrat Hussain was our keynote speaker. So there have been a range of people who have spoken. And the purpose of universities, I think, promoting and fostering open dialogue is critical. And although we've had a number of different perspectives and different views, but this is really our responsibility in every university. Provide the forum for free and open intellectual discussion, informed discussion, and this is ZABIST's effort to do that. So I want to thank each and everyone who has contributed, all the staff and all the faculty and all my departments, particularly social sciences, because it is their conference, and the students most of all. They've been here throughout, right from the morning sessions at 9 o'clock and 9:30 in the morning right till now. And thank you very much for moderating this session, Dr. Fareed Panjwani Sahab, and thank you to each and everyone who has been here throughout. Many colleagues, friends, academicians have been here. It's a small place, it's not as large as many of the big auditoriums you have, but I think it's the content that matters. And we will be publishing the proceedings of the conference as well. So thank you very much. I would like to just a simple shield as a token of appreciation now.
Madam President, please remain on stage. I would like to call Vice President, Admin and HR, Mr. Imtiaz Qazi, to please come onto the stage and give the token of appreciation to our esteemed panelist.
Dr. S.M. Tariq Rafi. Professor Dr. Syed Tipu Sultan. Professor Dr. Asif Ahmed Sheikh. Professor Dr. Mujibuddin Sahrai Maiman. Dr. Huma Bakai. Professor Dr. Altaf Muqati. Dr. Nida Kirmani. Okay. And our session moderator, Dr. Fareed Panjwani. Please remain on stage for a group photo.
Dr. Riaz Sheikh, please come onto the stage.
As we conclude the formal proceedings of today's conference, we invite you all to join us for tea and refreshments. Thank you once again for your participation.